Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you all are doing good. Well, last week, during our weekly live stream, we talked about the Michigan Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. Its initial report. Well, we only got through about 20 pages of it, and by the time you were halfway through, you were probably sitting there drooling because to accept any of the premise of this requires the listener to be dumber than the speaker. But what this exposed is this is what it looks like to have a tyrannical government. Now, in the United States of America, the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. It literally says so itself. The Constitution, as beautiful of a document as it is, was amended very shortly after it was written in 1789, ratified in 1791, the Bill of Rights, and the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed. Yet we literally have this draconian, like literally crazy task force set up by the governor of Michigan et al. To completely and utterly undermine your constitutionally protected natural right to keep and bear arms. And I'm going to kind of start with this, and then we're going to get into the topics that are in the title of this video, of this live stream. And by the way, all of you who are live right now, shout out. I'll be saying hi to you guys as the stream goes on as much as I can in the comments. And shout out to the replay crew. Glad to see all of you. So I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Well, it's real simple. The supreme law of the land is the Constitution. The Constitution says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, what are we even doing here? Why would there need to be a channel called 2AEDU? And look, I'm totally glad we're here, and I'm glad we're here together because I've met awesome people. So I truly mean that. But let's cut to the chase. We shouldn't need to be here right now, not for these purposes. We shouldn't have to talk about the Second Amendment because this was settled score in 1791. But here's the problem. See, that was settled in 1791 in a country called the United States of America. Here's my question for you. Where do y'all live now? Now, I do have some foreign viewers, and shout out to you as well. But look, where do we live? And your first answer is, well, I live in the United States of America. And then you might come back and say, well, I live in the great state of Virginia. I live in the great state of Minnesota, of Michigan. I mean, yeah, that's true. But I bring myself back to the question I've asked many times. Because, see, I love the United States of America, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And I'll tell you right now, wherever we are right now, there's still tons of awesome people here. Look at you guys. Shout out to the chat. Awesome people, man. And that's why I try to keep up this fight, because I think there's still a lot of people that are worth it. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, where am I? What's going on? Because here in America, there should never be a fight over the Second Amendment. We also have fights over the whole rest of the Bill of Rights right now and the very essence of this country. So the title of this live stream, Police and Judges, Rule of Law, the Second Amendment and Self-Defense. And I'm going to show you as this live stream goes on a little bit from a couple different videos from other YouTubers. And I'm going to offer some of my opinion on it and show you literally how upside down all of this is. And how it's literally crazy. And how more and more many Americans, and some of you may or may not feel the same way right now. Maybe you never will, but hopefully you never will. But you might feel that we no longer even have a Department of Justice anymore. In fact, in so many instances, it seems like injustice, whether on the federal level or whether on the state level. And these rogue judges are literally going insane right now. They're trying to completely and utterly undermine what the Trump 47 campaign promise was. And look, we can call Trump out for its faults. And nobody's probably called out the administration and him for his faults, particularly to the Second Amendment, more than me. But look, here's the deal. Trump won the Electoral College, won the popular vote. And one of the main things that I have supported him on and continue to is that you can't have a country without borders, and that we're being invaded right now. by foreign invaders. Some of them have literally been labeled as terrorists. And the more we keep seeing this happen, the more it goes to show you how important it is, first and foremost, to have borders in this country. Like obviously, everybody knows that. Well, everybody except for a lot of Americans, unfortunately, or wherever we live in right now, because here in America, we're supposed to be a country that's a rule of law. And when I say rule of law, look, I'm not talking about all of the hundreds of thousands and probably even millions of unconstitutional laws. Look, just in the Second Amendment arena alone, we have over 20,000 federal gun control laws, regulations, CFRs, rules that have full force and effective law, and all of these things. And I completely reject those because I go back to the early Supreme Court precedent, Marbury v. Madison, 1803. All laws that are repugnant to the Constitution, those are void. And I agree with that court and that court's decisions. And that court agreed with the founding fathers. See, this was right at the dawn of this country. Most of the founding fathers were still alive at this point. Like literally. So we have the law of the land itself. Obviously, we have the Second Amendment. We have all 10 amendments. We have the Constitution. We have very powerful Supreme Court precedent, but yet here we are. And it's a huge, huge problem because we need rule of law, meaning the real rule of law, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the founding fathers realizing and acknowledging, okay, that look, your rights are endowed by your creator. Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal, and they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It also acknowledges, doesn't proclaim because look, this already existed, but simply acknowledges that these are the laws of nature and of nature's God and what that entitles us to. These are very powerful things, very important things, very, very easy things to understand. But we have a country right now that's ruling in so many ways outside of the rule of law. And you think to yourself, well, what is a tyrannical government? And a simple definition of a tyrannical government is a government that rules outside of the rule of law. We'll say the governor of Michigan's a tyrant. And I believe that's a name that's well-deserved. Look, they call her many things. I'm going to keep this family friendly. But a tyrant is a leader that rules, a ruler that rules outside of the rule of law. And there's just literally crazy stuff going on right now. We're going to get into all that in just a minute. But before we do, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to my YouTube channel members, where you guys have your own little badge. I can see you guys highlighted in green in the app that I'm using. I definitely appreciate all of you. You guys get access to some unique emojis. You stand out in the chat. And I also do post some bonus content from time to time for you guys to take advantage of. Also, super chats. You notice there's no ad read in this video. This is sponsored by all of you. Those directly go to help keep this channel functioning, and I will read all of them, and I appreciate all of you who have done that in the past and who may be generous enough to do so tonight. Also, thank you to my Patreon supporters. Same thing. I appreciate all of you, and there is some bonus content. Just uploaded a post for you all a few days ago, as well as my local supporters. Now, look, locals is a different site, censorship-free. You can actually join for free and support financially, totally free over there. I'm being dead serious. Or you can support monthly for access to extra perks, be more of a member of the community, able to make posts, participate in the really cool live chats, and my Saturday night live streams. So make sure you check those out, as well as local sister site, which rhymes with fumble. And you can also find me on X, where I shared a story about literally one of the craziest police encounters, we'll call it. Let's just call it what it is. A bunch of tyrant pigs literally going berserk and completely and utterly defying anything that's even human, and like the terrible things that they did to this young man. And I also want to talk a little bit tonight about another thing that's going on. Because look, the police tie into all of this. When we talk about rule of law, we talk about judges or rogue judges. This is the government, right? And I'm going to show you just a little bit. We're going to opine and just think about a lot of this together. How we have some cops out there who are actually fighting their butts off, trying to make the street safer for regular citizens and people just like you and just like me, and are helping to fight off these foreign invaders. Look, as Trump has said so many times, and look, I'm with Trump in the complete lockstep when it comes to this. Look, they're not sending their best people in so many instances. There's legal ways to immigrate into the United States. We're not talking about those tonight. We're talking about the invaders, people who come over here, complete and utter disregard to United States immigration law, people that in so many instances where these other countries, they're emptying their prisons. They're just dumping these people here, one after another. And in some instances, and I'm going to show you a little bit, we're going to talk briefly about this trial of a policeman from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Anyone familiar with what's going on right now? Today was day 5 of the trial for Officer Christopher Shure. And in my opinion, and look, everything tonight's just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, no legal advice, not even purporting to be such. There's attorneys that talk about this stuff. I'm not one of those, but I'm a regular person, and I know that's what most of you are too. And we do have opinions on this, and not only are we allowed to talk about this, but we should. So there's my disclaimer. Not a lawyer, but look, man, in my opinion, this is a cop that was doing the right thing, trying to keep the community in that part of Grand Rapids, Michigan safe. Things escalated quickly. And now, in my opinion, this guy's about to fry. He's about to go to prison. I hope not. I hope not. But the way things are going in this trial, probably for a long time, if not the rest of his life. We're going to go over a little bit of that in 1 second here. And then all like at the same time that this is going on, I saw this video out of West Virginia. And the way these policemen treated this guy, like literally insane. It's going to make you grit your teeth. Some of you might have seen the video just because you already subbed to that YouTuber. Some of you may have seen my ex post. But I'm thinking about it for a minute, and it's like literally everything's completely upside down. What used to be down is now up, and what used to be up is now down. We have to go through, and look, we don't have to according to the supreme law of the land because it says shall not be infringed, but to be, quote, law-abiding citizens in the state of Michigan and many other states, we have to get a CPL, a concealed pistol license, and you have to notify the police immediately, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you cross your T's and dot your I's, and if you don't, you're going to be in big, big trouble, aren't you? Then there's this whole other class of people. And look, I'm going to tie these foreign invaders in with Officer Chris Shure. And tell me in the chat if anyone's heard of this case. But this is crazy. And yeah, West Virginia is a beautiful state, but boy, oh boy, is there some real jackbooted stuff that's going on down there. So it's complicated. I'm not going to sit here tonight and say that, you know, all police are pigs and need to whatever. I'm not going to say that. But you know what? I'm not going to stick up for them all either. And you know what? You don't see a thin blue line flag behind me either. Because I just see too many atrocities to just get by the police generally. However, I've seen some officers out there who really are trying to serve their country. A lot of them are military veterans that, you know, they got out of the military and they do want to protect and serve. And I do know some of these people personally, and there's just such a stark contrast in what, in my opinion, is happening to Officer Shure out of Michigan versus what these West Virginia cops, particularly this one guy, did. And I do want to kind of just go over it because it's like, wow, like here in America, all this is going on at once. Now, look, I realize I just probably made a lot of you mad at me. So if you like the stream, give me a thumbs up. And one more time, we don't have to agree on all this. We can still be friends. Like, I'm perfectly capable of this. But here's the problem, man. A lot of people in here are conservatives. And look, I don't even want to call myself that anymore. I want to be like an old school conservative circa like 1803. Because here's the deal. By the time 1803 hit, everything was set, and it was the way it needed to be. We had won the Revolutionary War. That was an awesome thing. Like, I completely agree with that part of America. I agree with the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and again, the very powerful Marbury v. Madison Supreme Court precedent. This is called case law. This is called all these things. And you think of all these inferior judges right now that are literally trying to write laws from the bench completely and utterly like, dude, they would make you go through all kinds of heck if you didn't have the proper permit, or if your tabs were expired, or if you're whatever. Oh, trust me, they go after you like crazy. But then at the same time want to let all these foreign invaders, in so many cases, they're emptying out their prisons, the thugs, whatever. It's literally insane. So yeah, I'm a conservative, meaning like I want to conserve that. But I'm not a neocon. I'm not all these other flavors of conservative. And here's the deal, man. Some of you guys are kind of like the type that are like, dude, like support the thin blue line. I know a lot of my friends have that flying high in their front yard. Like, man, I ain't judging you for it. I'm not mad at you. Like, but I'm not that guy. I can't be that guy anymore. There's too many tyrants out there that are just following orders. And I agree with what was found in the Nuremberg trials, where they said we were just following orders. And they said, no, that's never a defense. To violate natural human rights, you can't follow those orders. So there's a lot of order followers out there. But at the same time, I'm not joining BLM marching around saying, fry them all like whatever and this and that, because that's actually not my view either. So all my thin blue line friends get mad at me when I talk about this topic. And then all of my friends that are a little more black-pilled, that are like, we need to fry all the cops out there, they get mad at me about that too. Look, it's just not that simple. And to think it's that simple, in my opinion, is actually a bit shallow. But I'm going to go through with this because, again, we live in a police state where we literally have feds, we have state police, in many cases county, we have local. And what are they doing at the end of the day? They're going out, carrying out legislation. And whether it's constitutional or not, they have to follow that. That's the orders that they're given. Now, I think there's a personal decision where they don't personally actually have to follow it, but that's the argument. That's the defense you hear. And then you've got judges, which are supposed to be the justice system, because police are part of the executive branch of government. They execute laws. And then, of course, you have the judicial. Now, here's where there's a big problem right now. And trust me, I'm going to bring this right in just a couple minutes here to this Officer Shure of Michigan. Because here's the deal, man. Trump's been talking about this. A lot of us have been talking about this. Do you remember a president named Barack Hussein Obama? Does anyone remember him? The way I remember it is in his book. He literally bragged he was the first African president. Now, hold on a minute. If he's of Africa, from Africa, how was he even president? You know, I mean, it's an obvious question. Can anyone answer that? Now, here's the thing. If he wasn't truly born in Africa, now Trump actually had experts attempt to authenticate that birth certificate from Hawaii, and the conclusion of Trump's experts at that time, does anyone remember this? It's way before Trump was running for office, said no, they do not believe it was authentic. But here's the problem, okay? Either A, he was the first African-born president, which means he was born in Africa, which that makes me question how he could have been president. But even if he wasn't, and he could legally be president, we had a president that claims he's from a place other than America. And your loyalties are supposed to be to America. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a real quick story here, because maybe it's something you know about me, maybe you don't. And it's a complicated reasons why, and I'm not going to get into that because that part's not germane, but I actually didn't find out until I was well into adulthood. But the largest percentage of my lineage, my ancestry, I can actually trace down for a fact, because I don't submit to DNA tests. Heck, I'm not even going to get a real ID. That's where I am. Government, get the heck out of my life. Get your jackboot off my neck. I want to be secure in my person's effects and papers. The last thing I'm going to do, this is just me, is put my DNA out there so they can tell me my family tree. No. I don't think so. For those of you that are into it, shout out, and not me. All right? So I can't prove a lot of it, but I did find out that my grandfather, my mom's dad, originally started off over with Mussolini in Italy, World War II. Ended up defecting, coming over to the United States with basically nothing but the clothes on his back. Came here, became an American, and fought for the United States military. And that situation is not that uncommon. So that puts my mom at 50% Italian, and that would mean I'm at least 25%. But here's why I mentioned that. Have you guys ever heard me get on here before and say, hey, look, like I know I'm a good percentage Italian and I'm an Italian American. I'm a whatever American. No, I don't do that. Why? Because I'm just an American, period. End of story. And anybody who comes to this country, and here's the problems I have with these invaders and a lot of these even legit immigrants. If you don't mind, I'm going to get this off my chest. It's a state of mind. People that come over here and they refer to themselves as, I'm an African, I'm a German, I'm a whatever, okay? There's a problem with that because if you're an American, okay, and you were either born here or immigrated properly and became a United States citizen, it should be that simple. I'm an American, end of story. Now, if you guys want to talk about your lineage, that's fine. That's a separate topic. But it's just driving me crazy lately where they're like, oh, well, this one's an African, this one's a Congoan, this one's a Venezuelan, this one's a Mexican. I'm like, hold on a minute. He's a Mexican? Bye-bye. No way, Jose. You can go back. You know what I mean? Look, many, many good Mexican Americans. Dude, I don't care if you look at someone and you're like, oh, I think they're probably a Mexican. That's not the problem. The problem is they come in and they say they're still flying the Mexican flag higher. They're flying the Venezuelan flag on top. You ask them what country they're from, and they don't just say, well, I'm from this, but now I'm an American. No, they just literally say, I'm an African. I'm Congo. It's like, well, then why the heck are you here? Now, these happen to be the same people that appear in many cases to hate this country. Oh, I'm Palestinian, they'll say. Well, if you're Palestinian, then why don't you live in Palestine? Why don't you live in the Gaza Strip? You know what I mean? For example, look, it's real simple. If you're an American, you're an American. If you're not an American, you shouldn't be here and you should get the heck out. Literally, that's how I look at it. And someone already in the chat says, well, it's not that simple. Well, then give me your plan. What's your plan? Look, it is that simple. If you're here and you want to support the American dream, which is being a rule of law country, and I already defined what rule of law is, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Marbury v. Madison, right? And also, as a great guidance, even though it might not technically be the law, the Declaration of Independence. It has a great outline. It talks exactly about what America is supposed to be and what it is. So we sit here today where they're literally violating everybody's rights. And there's that old saying being like, well, Americans' rights, everybody else can just do whatever the heck they want. If you're not an American, you can basically do whatever you want. But if you are an American, they're just after you, just trying to find stuff to do to you. Have you ever thought about that? Yeah. And you shouldn't have to apologize. Oh, they'll call you a nationalist. Well, yeah, of course I'm a nationalist. I want to put America first. Duh. And there's that old saying, someone's a stranger in a strange land. Yeah, that's how that works. And you usually mind your manners where you're somebody else, actually, because here's the thing, man. My mom went to Italy just a couple weeks ago. She said, it's a beautiful country. Beautiful countryside. The old architecture there. The hills, the vineyards, the olive trees. I mean, gosh, beautiful people there. Beautiful country, great place. They're dealing with lots of immigration problems too, though. They really are. And she talked about how there was a museum. They still had some battlefield areas intact from World War II, and they were showing like part of a battlefield they had preserved, and there was fighting over there. And then they had a little museum where they were showing all these World War II firearms. And I was telling her, I'm like, I have a lot of those firearms, actually. I have a lot of old World War II and even prior, back to the 1800s and World War I era Italian firearms, and even more modern than that. And that they have great, firearms there and a lot of history. And heck, it makes me think about it. I don't know. I'll never be able to find out. But it's like, man, As I'm sitting there holding a Carcano, maybe it's an 1891 TS or a cavalry carbine, or maybe it's an old Vetterli. It's like, there's no way. There's literally zero way. But it's like, did my grandfather hold this rifle? Maybe. And now, like, I have it. No, there's no chance. But you have to ask yourself, because it is technically possible, right? It really is. And so she's like, yeah, but they can't really have those there. Not like we can in the United States. And I'm like, well, yeah. And look, someone's going to come out, but actually, 2A EDU, they can have firearms in Italy. Yeah, I know. Try to exercise our version of the Second Amendment there and see what happens to you. Give me an example. There's no way. There's no way I could bring my Italian Vetterli or my Carcano and just put it in my luggage on a plane and take it over to Italy and just walk around with it slung open, carrying it through the streets. Could I do that? No, of course I couldn't do that, because I'm in another country. I'm in Italy, where they don't have a Second Amendment, and they don't believe that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And the people there, like I say, great people, great country, but they've suffered a lot for not having a Second Amendment, in my opinion. So I can't go over there and just act like however the heck I want. Could you imagine me going over to any of these other countries and trying to act just like I'm in America? Look, I can't do what I want in this country either, but I think you all get my point. Then how come is it that anyone else can come over here and seem like they can do whatever the heck they want? And I'm reading out of the corner of my eye, a few people are like, well, 2A EDU, it's just not that simple. Well, here's the deal. If it's not that simple, then tell me the answer. Look, I never purported I was going to solve all these issues tonight. I'm just telling you this is a problem. And look, to all of my friends who have lineage from other countries, like, shout out to you. This is nothing about that at all. In fact, I know a lot of immigrants that are first generation that literally came here as adults and did it the right way. And they're great Americans, and they're more ticked off about all these invaders than I am, actually. That's like the crazy part. I could share all the stories with you guys. I'm not even going to get into it, because I don't need to get into it, because it's obvious what's going on. I could say, well, I have a very close family member that immigrated from another country, and I could say, well, I know this person is a... No, I don't need to have a token immigrant friend to say what I'm saying, or a token immigrant family member, because I actually do, but it doesn't matter, because people that want to come here, that consider themselves Americans, they're great people to be here. These other people who hate this country and still want to act like they live in the old country can get the heck out. And man, oh man, do I rip on Trump when he does stuff that's against the Constitution of the Second Amendment. But I told you guys, man, I did vote for him. And one of the reasons why I did was because that was one of his biggest agendas. I'm going to send them back and get them out. We have foreign gangs that have infiltrated and are taking over so many places. And now we've got these judges, these inferior judges, meaning they're not in the Supreme Court. We talk about how we're supposed to have 3 co-equal branches of government. Not actually originally true, by the way. If you look back at the very founding documents, the pre-founding and then right up into the actual founding, it wasn't 3 equal branches of government. It was separation of powers, but the courts were actually had a lot less power than the executive and then the legislative. Don't believe me? Go look it up. There's a lot of there to what I'm saying. But even if you go by the premise of we're supposed to have 3 separate but equal branches, yeah, that's the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is what's talked about. Having powers, not rights, but powers. Because government, just remember, that doesn't have rights. And the 10th Amendment doesn't say that there's states' rights. Read it, or else I'll read it for y'all in a minute if you don't believe me. Powers delegated from the people. That's what the government's supposed to be. But the Supreme Court is what's talked about in the Constitution. All these inferior courts have actually been created by Congress over the years. Not even part of the founding of this country, if you want to look at it that way. And is Trump sitting there saying, all right, he's ordered as the chief executive, the nationally publicly elected person in this country, won the Electoral College, won the popular vote. Doesn't matter if I voted for him or you did or you didn't or whatever, won both, which means that that's the policies that the American people wanted. And I can't help but to have noticed that one of the main things people wanted was immigration reform, drastically, that's to put it lightly, and to get all these illegal invaders out of here. Get them out. Okay? And I do believe Christopher Shure is innocent too. You guys are like, well, dude, I thought he was going to talk about this cop. Well, hold on a minute. It's a long-form conversation. We typically do these live streams for about 2 hours. But second of all, this has everything to do with Chris Shure, Officer Shure of Grand Rapids, Michigan, actually. And it has to do with judges, and it has to do with the police. And then I'm going to show you a clip from what happened in West Virginia. And that has to do with a lot of this as well. But you have these inferior judges literally trying to take away the mandate from the American people. And it's not that so they're trying, they're actually doing it right now. They're taking away your vote because you voted for somebody for president. Your guy may or may not have won. However, the majority of the people, no matter which metric you look at, the Electoral College, which is very, very important, by the way, and you can also just look at the old popular vote. To say that Trump has and had a strong immigration policy would be putting it lightly. Deportation policy. To say that's strong would be putting it lightly. One of the most powerful, at least in all of his speeches and rhetoric, that we've heard in a long, long time. And now we've got these inferior judges coming out, a judge from California saying on a nationwide level, they have to have full due process of law. They have to be documented. They each have to have their own trial. And these are judges all over the place. The one judge literally said that the gang member, which has literally been legally classified as a terrorist by the President of the United States, let that sink in, that when he was on the plane getting deported to El Salvador, the judge said, turn the plane around? Excuse me? And then the Supreme Court chimed in and said, well, it's too late to turn the plane around now, but like if they are willing to send him back, the United States has to facilitate that. That's BS too. And the Supreme Court is turning on this in so many different ways. You look at some of them that are typically considered the conservative judges really aren't so conservative. You look at Roberts. He said his whole job is to call balls and strikes. Yeah, right. Anytime he's the deciding vote, he pretty much always goes with the liberals. Don't even get me started on Amy Coney Barrett. Just think about this. And think about these three women that are considered to be the liberal judges. And now look at this other woman that's considered a conservative judge. And these women are getting together on this issue and many other issues. And then Roberts, as the old tiebreaker, of course, loves to swing over with the liberals whenever his vote is of any importance. Now, if the more conservative justices are going to win it anyways, he doesn't like to be part of a 5-4 loss. He'll swing over and make it 6-3. Go back and look at these important cases. You'll see what I'm talking about tends to happen more often than not, right? Now, Amy Coney Barrett shocked a lot of people for a while, and I was shocked a little bit at first too. Now this is going to sound crazy, until I looked at her family photo. I'm just going to leave you with that. Go look at her family photo of her whole family, and then it'll click. Oh, now I see why. Now I see why she's very, very liberal on so-called immigration and why she's going against Trump. Just look at that, and you may or may not come to the same conclusion as me, right? But we're in a country that's just so upside down now. Look, the Congress of the United States of America has passed immigration laws. Yeah, that were duly signed by the elected president of the United States many, many years ago. And we've had presidents in the past, Obama, even the former vice president, the one that used to be Obama's vice president, Biden, just saying we're just not even going to follow those laws. Well, here's the simple question I think of. Well, what would happen to me and you if we just decided to summarily say we're not going to follow a bunch of laws? You know what I'm saying? Good night, the Hack Shop. I'll go back and read all of you guys' chat because I get kind of focused here when I'm talking, and I'll read all of your stuff later, guys. I'm even going to read a couple of super chats here in a second. But when you have somebody, now look, back to this again. What's a tyrant? What's a tyrannical government? That's somebody ruling outside of the rule of law. And when your job as an executive, or in the case of the president, is to execute the laws that are passed by Congress, right? And you just say, no, I'm not going to follow that law just because I don't want to. That's a big problem. That's a constitutional crisis. Boy, is it. So many times that these so-called conservatives are always like, well, we have to follow the law. Okay. We're a rule of law country, so we'll have to follow all these tyrannical laws. You know, they'll say, well, I'm the most pro-Second Amendment there's ever been. The most pro-Second Amendment senator, president, whatever they are, judge. But at the end of the day, they're like, well, hold on, though. I still have to abide by this gun control law because it's the law and I have to follow it. When literally the supreme law of the land says shall not be infringed. So that's completely messed up and backwards and insane. But then when it comes to this other stuff with these foreign invaders, don't forget this. They're emptying their prisons out. South America, Central America, Asia. Look, we're not just talking like a certain demographic of people. We're not just talking about people that look a certain way. Look, there's Orientals coming in. There's blacks. There's browns. There's tans. There's whites. It's all kinds of them all over the place. And they are not sending their best people in so many cases. Because here's the deal. We have a lot of really good people that are immigrants. Those people tend to immigrate the legal way. These are the people that tend to come in and be like some really awesome people, right? Like, so don't conflate. Look, a lot of you might be immigrants and you're like, dude, well, look, if you swam the Rio Grande, if you came in through wherever you came and you came in the wrong way, sorry, dude, like get the F out. That's where I'm at. But I'm not talking about the good immigrants that came over here the proper way, that are contributors to society, that love America. And we should have a meritocracy. Who the heck's entitled just to go somewhere and show up? Like, am I entitled just to come to one of your houses and just walk in and just sleep on your couch and eat everything out of your fridge and take a dip in your pool and do whatever? Now, look, I get it. Some of you out of generosity, if I needed a place to stay, probably would let me sleep on your couch. And that's awesome. But could I just trounce on in there and say, this is my place now? Point to your wife and say, she's my wife. And I'm going to make her my concubine wife to my main wife. Like, you're just thinking, what? That'd be insane. Who is this guy? That's nuts. But in so many cases, this is no different. They come in here. They hate America. They want to destroy America. And they refuse to even conform to America. Look at what they call Dearbornistan and these places in Michigan, where there's the highest concentration of people from the Middle East, outside of the Middle East itself and the whole world. They're practicing Sharia law and Sharia courts and doing genital mutilation and all these things. And look, these are backed up by certified sources in America. And you've got these judges saying, no, we won't follow immigration law. We won't follow orders from the President of the United States. What happens? What happens when you have a constitutional crisis and the president's saying, get them out? Then they're saying, well, they have to have due process. Well, here's what's insane about that. I don't like using the word due process, but I will to prove a point. We have what's considered a due process as part of the supreme law of the land. All right. It outlines it. And this is for the people of the United States. This is for criminal. These deportations, these are civil proceedings. Now, you know what's really messed up about this and really effed, pardon my French, I'm not going to say the full word. Here's what's really effed right now. Red flag laws. They talk a lot about this in this Michigan Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. Okay? This is the unconstitutional law of the land of Michigan, and it's unconstitutional according to the Second Amendment. It's unconstitutional according to Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 6. This defies all the laws of nature and of nature's God, and this is no due process at all. But they say, but hold on a minute. A red flag law, that's just a civil proceeding. That's why they can have these ex parte hearings, right? That's why you don't get to have your own attorney ahead of time. They can bring forth exculpatory witnesses and evidence to prove your innocence, even though you're supposed to be presumed innocent, unless the state can prove beyond any reasonable doubt that you're guilty. That's for criminal. But here's the problem. They say these red flag laws. No. They just hear one side of the story. It's called take the guns first, then due process. Yeah, that's insane, because that's literally no due process at all. But if you violate the red flag order, then it becomes criminal. See how cute they are with all of that? And that's what we have to live under in the state of Michigan and so many other states with red flag laws. But then when it comes to these foreign invaders, these illegals, and I call them illegals because they are, period. When you break the law, you break our immigration law, you come in our country, not the legal way, you're just an illegal. You know? So now we have judges butting in, though, saying we're going to put out a thing across the whole country that says all these illegals, they need the same due process of law as an American citizen would if they were in a civil trial, like a preponderance of evidence. And in some cases, they're saying it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. No. This is how things are outlined for Americans here in America. If they have a different court system in the Congo, they can go under that court system. Maybe it's much better than ours. I don't know. Don't want to find out. I don't want to go to the Congo. Nothing to do with it. Wouldn't go there in a million years. You probably couldn't even pay me $1 million to go there. I'm just saying. However, if they're of the Congo and they're here and they don't like our system, then they can go back and be tried underneath the political system of the Congo, however that may be. Right? I mean, if you were in the Congo and you were doing what you wanted, could you come back and say, well, hold on a minute. Here's my defense, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state as you're trying to carry your Glock on your hip in the Congo. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They'd look at you and be like, yeah. Off with his hands, off with his head, whatever they do to you there. Who knows? If you're in Haiti, make sure your dog's okay. Make sure your cat's in good order. Or in Springfield, Ohio, too. Another good point of these people come over here and they want to bring their ways with them. So it's this whole weird thing. Now, here's actually the due process, and I'll use that term just to show you how stupid it is. These liberal leftist judges, these radical activist, inferior judges that are completely trying to destroy this country and undermine a duly elected president, both on the popular vote and electoral college. Don't forget that. One of the most important issues in this whole country was all of this, these invaders, these immigrants. Look, we're literally at war right now. Let's face it, like literally, bloodshed, everything. But they sit there and they say, well, hold on a minute. Yeah, if you have due process. No, they do. It's called like, and look, I'm not an expert. I'm not purporting to be, but the way I understand it is, like, you just have to have an immigration officer official just declare that they're here illegally, and you can just send them back. Like, it's literally that simple. Transitioning into all of that, because this is all kind of tied in together. Think about self-defense. Think about the police. And I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to watch a little bit of a video about Officer Chris Shure from Grand Rapids. Before we do that, I'm going to read these super chats real quick, though, because I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you. Nubbins McGee with a super chat. Thank you. Says, something to show support. Well, I appreciate it, man. Every little bit helps, and way to get the ball rolling tonight. Thank you. Marco Polo. What's happening, Marco? How you doing, man? Super chat and a channel member. He says 20,000 BS gun control laws. Yeah, every last one of them unconstitutional, dude. No cigar tonight. Ran out. Well, that sucks, man. Jeez. Hey, smoke them if you got them, guys. Marco doesn't have one. Maybe if someone lives in the great state of VA, they can stop by and you guys can have yourselves a cigar together. John Q. Public, what's happening, man? Super chat and a channel member. Thank you. Says physically, kinetically fight government redcoats. Yeah, Lexington, Concord. That is the founding of this country, isn't it? Dude, this is a great story. Zach Freezy. Thank you for the super chat, man. Oh, dude, I actually know this story well, and it's very powerful. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Battle of Athens, Tennessee, August 1946. Yeah, go look it up, guys. The Battle of Athens, very, very important piece of U.S. history, and I know the story well. Yes, very good. There you guys go. If you want to look up a rabbit hole this weekend, look up the Battle of Athens. John Q. Public with another super chat. Well, thanks, man. He says, it is the responsibility of we the people to enforce our natural, God-given, inalienable, enumerated right to the Second Amendment national preemption. I know, dude. The government always invokes the supremacy clause when they want to. Look, the Trump administration, with a lot of the stuff they're doing right now, it appears, of course, look, nothing's going to be good enough for me till it's all gone, but I'm trying to call a spade a spade. It appears is doing a lot better than last time. I'm just saying, guys, it appears they're, again, it's never enough for me, you know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to be calm, you know. As of right now, a lot of the stuff happening on the federal level with the Trump administration and his higher ups, well, it's not perfect. Trust me on that. Hey, a lot better than I thought. So I'm going to give kudos on this. I am. Could they be doing better? Yes. But oh, yeah. So, Chris Shure, he's a cop, fairly young man. He starts off by patrolling one day. I believe it's the southeast part of Grand Rapids area. And he gets behind a car, driving very slow, acting suspicious, making multiple turns. Something doesn't quite seem right. So he runs his license plates. It comes back to the wrong vehicle. The driver's driving a Nissan. And it was supposed to be I can't remember the original vehicle, but a Ford Festiva or whatever. You know what I mean? I just say Ford Festiva because if anybody has one of those, shout out. Like if those are even on the road still, I'll give you a lot of props. Anyone that's young is like, what's a Ford Festiva? Hey, if anyone wants to know, the chat will fill you in. People my age remember. Anyways, he's got the wrong plates on the wrong car. It gives the officer probable cause to pull him over. What does he find? He finds two men in the car from the Congo. And trust me, in the trial against Christopher Shure, look, they're trying to put him away for murder. Trying to put him away for possibly the rest of his life. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of a brief synopsis, and then we're going to go over and watch a little bit of Andrew Branca, Law of Self-Defense. He's a lawyer that literally specializes in self-defense, but the cops out there, and there's two of them, they're of the Congo. They're from the Congo, all right? Remember we talked about that? Sending them all in. These are your dreamers. These are your whatevers. Officer gets up to the car. Before he can even get his door open, this guy just jumps out of the car. And he looks like a beast. I mean, this dude looks like a whatever. He's got, he's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Big looking dude. Looks like something you'd think you'd see in the Congo. I mean, I'm just saying. Well, that's where he's from, right? Sometimes people, fit the stereotypes of what you'd think they look like. Big old dude. I mean, wow. Gets out of the car. Immediately, starts coming out of the car towards the officer. And the officer's immediately like, get back in the car. Get back in the car. The guy's stumbling and stuttering so hard. It sounds like he's literally, he sounded like the former vice president. He's saying, shroom out of that shit of pressure. I mean, it almost sounds that bad. So the officer's like, get back in the car. Get back in the car. Because he's been trained that when someone jumps right out of the car during just a routine traffic stop, Why do you have the wrong plates? Do you have a driver's license? Look, that's basically what the officer was doing. And at a certain point, the cop says, Chris Shure, Schurr, if you want to look into this, he comes back and says, DS. I mean, kind of essentially, yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking at one of the chats here. I mean, actually, kind of. But look, so he says, do you speak English? Because this dude's slurring so much. Well, later on, they find out that he has a blood alcohol content of 3. 3. The legal limit in Michigan's 0.08. Now, look, man, do I think that's a little bit low? Maybe. I know some guys that, can have a couple beers and they're still fine. Like, I get it. And trust me, I'm not a Johnny Law guy. I think we have too many laws. But come on now. 0.3? That's super drunk. Look, most states will give you what's called an enhancement on a DUI if it's 0.15 or higher. They give you what's called a super drunk. And there's different terminologies for different states, but they'll give you a DUI enhancement if it's up as high as 0.15 is kind of the cutoff for a lot of states, right? This guy's 0.3. He's literally double of what most experts have agreed is super drunk. Now, not 30%, 0.03 or whatever it is, but it's 0.3. I'm sorry, a third of 1%. If you were 30%, you'd be dead. Okay, just to clarify, 0.3. So you'd be 30%, but 0.3, a third of a percent blood alcohol content. Look, that's super, super high. Is my point. It's about 4 times more than the legal limit in Michigan to operate a motor vehicle, including watercraft and basically anything. They've gotten people before for riding like their lawnmower while they're above 0.08. I don't agree with that. I think that's jackbooted as all get out. But this guy's driving down the road about 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a heavy, like high population concentration neighborhood. Lots of families live there. Lots of children potentially, walking to school, waiting for a bus, coming and going, people's neighborhood pets, whatever. I mean, look, the guy's showing all the red flags to be questioned by a police officer. And look, again, I'm not a cop cheerleader at all. And I'm going to show you a video in a little bit that's going to show you how crazy some of these cops are. So please keep that in mind. This is not a thin blue line guy you're talking to here right now. Although a lot of my friends are, man, and we can still be friends. If you're willing to be friends, I'll still be friends with you guys. It's all good, whatever. But my point is this. Just because I believe people have the right to make up their own mind is what I'm saying on this. But man, this guy's like literally like super duper duper drunk, 4 times the legal limit. Cop can't even understand him. Do you speak English? And he kind of says, yeah. Well, he asks him, he says, well, do you have an ID? Can I get your driver's license? And he goes to his passenger and kind of like looks in the seat. Now, this guy's still out of the car after the cops told him so many times, get back in the car, get back in the car. He won't get back in the car. Completely unruly. Not going to listen to anything this cop says. It's obvious immediately. Like anyone can see that. And he says something. He's mumbling, stuttering. My friend has it. It's in there. Something about a glove box. So he asked his friend, get it from me. Well, his friend's searching around. His friend was actually testified for the prosecution. And his friend, wow. If his friend's IQ is above 20, I'd be totally surprised. Now, his friend's also from the Congo. And his other friend is from the Congo. They had all these people come testify. And look, they're the ones that made all this a big part of the issue, okay? They really did in this trial. It's still going on. And they're basically like, yeah, we were hanging out with our people and with our family reunion and all this. And on cross-examination, they're like, what do you mean your people? They're like, well, from the Congo. And the way it was explained, it became obvious to me, these people are from the Congo. Now they're in Michigan and they got their own thing going on. Makes it pretty clear that they like to hang out with their own. They still want to listen to African music. They still want to hang out with people from their country. Like, I get it to a point. People are creatures of habit. People are very tribal. And they do all of this. So like, whatever. But the fact is, it's like, why are you guys here? It's back to that again. I don't know what the legal status is of these people. But my point is these are people in a different culture, and they make it very clear via their testimony in the court case that we hang out with our own. And in this case, they were drinking all night. A couple of them never went to bed at all. The driver of this vehicle can't even pronounce his name. He slept a couple hours, maybe, they said, fully clothed, crashing on someone's couch, whatever. So he asked him for his license, and his buddy can't get it for him. The cop asked him for his license. He can't get it for him because he has none. So he starts to kind of like leave and start to walk around the other side of the car, and the cop grabs his arm and says, no, stay here. You're under arrest. Put your hands behind your back. This brute of a man instantly just like, no. And he like, jerks away from him. Before you know it, they're around the car. The guy starts to run away. The cop's trained in every regard that you're to follow these people. You're supposed to chase them down and stop them because somebody in that state of mind, somebody doing all this could be a threat to the community, to the neighborhood, to all the innocent people that might not want something bad to happen to them in their own front yard or whatever, right? Whether it's right or wrong, but that's their training. Is you're supposed to apprehend the person once they start to flee. He immediately gets on his radio, says we have a runner, throws in the code, asks for backup repeatedly. Backup never comes. They start to tussle for a little bit. Finally, it ends up on the ground in this person's front yard. The cops using these knee checks or whatever it's called and these different approved methods, because remember, after George Floyd, they took away a lot of the certain holds around the neck, all of this. But they basically took away so many of these tools that they had because, look, here's the deal, man. As much as there's jackboot cops and jackbooted laws, there are crazy people among us. There's violent people among us. And, you do have to apprehend some of these people. We don't want to live in, like, the Congo, for example, do we? I mean, I don't want to. Maybe you do. And if you do, maybe they'll let you immigrate there, right? I don't want nothing to do with any of that. That's my personal opinion. So I don't want America to be that. So it's like, no, you have to act a little more civilized. You can't be driving around in another car with a this and a that. And anyways, they get to tussle. And then it literally turns into like a fight for his life, where as the police officer's trying to apprehend this guy repeatedly over and over again, stop resisting. He's getting on his radio. I need backup. He finally resorts to, the cop was actually in pretty good shape, and they testified to that. He was a runner. He was on the track team in high school. He was 31 when this was happened. Still kept himself in shape, calisthenics, jogging, all this. He just couldn't keep this guy. He couldn't keep this guy apprehended. The guy wasn't going to comply. Really strong. It was impossible, it appeared to me, to reason with this suspect at that time, because you can't reason with him at all. You can't understand him hardly. It's just crazy, right? He has a thick accent, but he's also like super duper drunk. Well, it finally gets to the point where the cop can barely even breathe anymore. You can hear him desperately calling for help. Nobody comes. Keep in mind, the left, hey, they took away a lot of their tools, a lot of their restraints. Remember George Floyd, the neck, Derek Chauvin? Derek Chauvin, in my opinion, innocent man that's just frying because of BLM and all of this far leftist movement. Well, I think this is another case of that. That's what I'm trying to get at here. I've been watching the trial as much as I can while I'm working, listening more than watching. But Lou, there's a videotape from the squad car, the dash cam. There's an officer worn body cam that captures most of it. There's a porch camera from across the street, from someone's porch doing it. And there's also the passenger of the car out there recording it. So to make matters worse, the passenger of the car gets out at a certain point during this while it's still more of a tussle. Cop fights him. They're fighting each other. It's hand-to-hand combat, trying to pin him down. The cop's not like punching him with a closed fist or trying to mess him up. He's trying to just like get him under control. He keeps saying, put your hands behind your back. At a certain point, the cop's like, you know what? This use of force isn't enough to apprehend the suspect. So he goes to his taser. Draws his taser, goes to aim and hit him when the suspect's backs to him, which is the way they train them to do. He's on the grass. From all the experts testifying, this is like the perfect textbook way to use a taser. Before he can get it out of his holster and deploy it, the guy's turned around. He hits him in the front with the taser. Does nothing to him. just reaches out and puts his hand on it, just like, ugh. You know what I mean? It's like one of them old movies where you watch them, those old like B-rated black and white movies where the villain's like, and all the people are like trying to do stuff too, and it doesn't matter. It's just like, ugh, like whatever. That's basically what happens. The guy's so inebriated, he's so whatever. He's literally taking like a taser, and it's not causing him pain. It doesn't appear. It's not stopping his muscles. It's not doing any of that. Meanwhile, this guy's got this guy's friend out in the car, doesn't know his intentions. Meanwhile, there's this other neighbor that comes out. You know? Yeah, drain the swamp, kind of like that. Look, the other neighbor comes out, and he's out there chiming in and getting involved. You know what I mean? Now, look, the officer is a police officer that just happens to be a white man. The suspect is the suspect, and I've just laid out a little bit of the summary of it, happens to be a black. The passenger happens to be black. The neighbor that comes out and is standing there like hovering over and he testified as a neighbor that happens to be black. So they're fighting. This guy's been tased. It's not stopping him, not even slowing him down. The suspect. The cop's running out of gas. You can hear him talking. He can barely even talk anymore because you can just hear him wheezing. He's to the point where he's wheezing out of breath because this fight goes on for several minutes, and not a lot of people can fight, that hard for that long, like literally. Yeah, MMA fighters can, but they literally train for that like 3 times a day and for like years and years and years. And like, look, unless people that literally specialize in fighting, not many people can fight more than 2.5 minutes. They're exhausted. So finally, as the cop's trying to keep the guy pinned down, again, all he keeps doing is telling him, like, stop resisting, put your hands behind your back. Gets up at a certain point with the cop on his back. Like the suspect literally does like a push-up with a police officer on his back, like he's not even there. Again, the cop's not punching him with a closed fist or doing nothing like that. Like, I've seen a lot worse. Well, they keep going, and it's a fight at this point for their life, and the suspect takes the taser from the cop, overpowers him. Takes the taser, turns the taser around, shifts it into his right hand, and holds it like a gun. The officer has just got done tasing him briefly with no noticeable effect. The safety's off. The cop testifies today in court that he can still see the red for the safety meeting. It's on. It's ready to go. The guy's holding it like a gun, like in the position, like you would hold it. He knows that he's within less than 1 second where if he pulls that trigger on that taser, that he can tase him. And what he's been taught in his training is you never, ever let the suspect tase you, because if they do, you have to assume while your muscles are disrupted and you're locked up for a period of up to at least 5 seconds. And while tasers are generally, we had lots of experts testify in this case, tasers are generally safe to use by a trained professional. They are usually not safe if like somebody who doesn't have proper training in it. If the taser would have touched his eyes, it could have permanently blinded the cop, let alone in the situation. All of these things. Yeah, the probes had been deployed, the one set. But the cop didn't know it at the time, but during the tussle, the other set had apparently become deployed too, but that doesn't matter either, the experts testified in the trial. Because even what's called a dry tase, we're using it more like a stun gun, where it just presses and pulls the trigger, that can also lock you up and stop your motor movement for a period of at least 5 seconds or longer, if used properly. Maybe way worse than that for someone that doesn't care or doesn't know how to use it safely. And in that amount of time, you have to assume they're going to go to your gun belt, take your gun, and shoot you with your own gun. That's what many officers in court over the last week have testified to. That's what the Officer Chris Shure himself, which he did go on the stand and testify today, said. So he had a split second. He had just lost control of the taser. He believed that if he would have waited another second, he gives one last final command, drop the taser. He had told him to drop the taser so many times. Because for a while, they kind of had dual control of it. Reaches down, grabs his sidearm, one shot to the head of the suspect. The suspect died. This happened in 2022. Immediately became a political issue. immediately became a race issue. Black Lives Matter came and swarmed the whole city. You remember all their chants they had. Keep in mind, this is 2022. This was not too much longer after the Summer of Love and George Floyd and other big incidences. Kyle Rittenhouse, different major trials that had happened. It was a very tumultuous time, when it comes to literally this topic too. And they were doing their no justice, no peace, and just scaring the daylights out of everybody around town, because that's what they do. They scare people, and they run by fear. And it took 3 years of going back and forth with some of the stuff even being heard by the Michigan Supreme Court. But for a while, he wasn't going to get tried, apparently. But finally, after 3 years, his trial was scheduled, and it did start at the beginning of this last week. In my opinion, this was a racially motivated trial. This was white guy wants to kill black guy. That's what the left made it out to be, as they have so many different times. And yeah, the cop did happen to be a white man, and the suspect and his cohorts did happen to be black and from the Congo and all of this. But you just look at it and you just look at what happened. The cop was fighting for his life. And I believe any person, a reasonable person, would believe that if the cop didn't go to his sidearm, he'd be the one that's dead right now. Again, man, like I said earlier, I don't just blindly support cops, but I've been actually following this trial. And it's like, to me, I'm watching all the experts testify. It appears the guy did follow his training. He followed all the procedures of his police force, the academy, all of these things. And yeah, man, it's nuts. But he's going to trial for murder now. Here's the crazy part: the judge, who so happens to be black, or at least part thereof. Every time during this whole trial, there's an objection, an argument, if you will, between the two, the defense counsel and prosecutor. The judge is ruling in favor of the prosecutors 9 out of 10 times at least, maybe 95 times out of 100. I'm not trying to necessarily correlate that, but I will say that happens to be true. The judge that just so happens to be, in my opinion, by looking at her, at least partially black, if not all the way, I'm just saying, just happens to be, for some reason, just agreeing with the prosecution almost all the time. Yeah. The jury has 10 women on it and 4 men. And the prosecutor is a bully, and he's nasty, and he's mean. And the defense is so incompetent that I keep questioning to myself, like, dude, are they paid actors? Are they in on it with the prosecutor? Like, who are these people? Where did they come from? Now, allegedly, they come from one of Grand Rapids' top law firms. And Grand Rapids is a huge city. But I don't know, man. Like, this guy's defense is just terrible. I'm sitting there, not a lawyer. I'm on the lawnmower, and I'm like, how's that tied into the case? When this expert's talking about this use of the taser, that use of the taser, police policy, what you have to assume when you're a police officer, and this type of fight for your life and struggle and all this, I'm just sitting there, ask the obvious question. No, they do nothing. In fact, I was wondering, in my opinion, one of the defense attorneys seemed like to me she could possibly have been very intoxicated or on drugs, literally sitting there going, so what is your training in? Okay. And what year did you? Oh, sorry about that. I started to read the wrong question. So, when you were training police officers, what was it that you said about the taser? Like, I'm not even really trying to exaggerate. That's how one of the defense lawyers was talking in court throughout the week. And I'm like, who are these people? This is literally insane. Now, as far as I can tell, man, look, dude, there's some good cops out there. There are, guys. When I go over this second story after this, you're going to be like, yeah, there's some good ones and there's some real bad ones. But man, oh man, this cop, 31 years old, married his high school sweetheart, very active in the church. In fact, what's crazy is the defense at a certain point asked him, they said, what country were you married in? Because they're trying to pin it that this racist cop. It's this racist cop that just wanted to, he got in his squad car that day to hunt down a black man. That's what the media, that's what all kinds of people, that's the only reason this is even gone to trial, in my opinion, is because of this. This is the thing they're trying to portray. Here's the ironic part. Him and his would-be wife were missionaries. They went on a missionary trip, okay? And they actually met each other in Kenya, all right? Two Americans, you know, that went over there. Some of you guys are familiar with it. Some of you aren't, but a lot of Christians, you know, will, via the church, sometimes via other organizations, they'll go to a third world country to spread the word of God and to try to help people. That's to sum it up very, very quickly, but I think most of you know what a missionary is. They were there doing missionary work and met each other and actually got married in Kenya. That's what's so ironic about all of this. Now, they didn't want to move to Kenya and live there, obviously, but they were there doing missionary work with the church, and they came back here and was going to live happily ever after. But when they went to ask him that, where'd you get married? The prosecutor immediately says, I object. It's not relevant. And the judge immediately says, yeah, jury has to disregard that. Huh. Which proves that him and his would-be wife, they literally got married in Kenya, was over there helping black people. Because they believe that's what Christ was commanding them to do. And they believe that's what God wanted them to do. And some of you believe that way, some of you don't. But here's the moral of the story. That wasn't admissible. They weren't allowed to say that. Instead, all this has been portrayed as the whole time as a white man went out to hunt down a black man that day. And that's what so many people have been saying. Black Lives Matter, like I said, stormed the city, took it over. I think this guy's going to fry, man. Very, very low IQ judge, in my opinion. Like, this judge is not very bright. She's just like, and whatever. No, like, she literally said that today in part of the hearing. She said, and whatever. It's like, excuse me? Judge, Your Honor, if I would have been there and been the defense, Your Honor, do you speak English? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, really? But the defense is just like terrible. This is a good channel to watch if you guys want to know all about this trial. I gave you a real 30, 40,000 foot overview. Like I said, I haven't been able to sit here for 8 hours a day and watch this, but law of self-defense, Andrew Branca. He's been covering this 8 hours, almost 9 hours today. And he does this little synopsis near the end. Let's listen to it for a few minutes. This is day 5. You can see a picture of their Officer Chris Shure. This guy is considered probably the premier legal expert for self-defense, and I've known who he is for a long time. In fact, and look, I don't know the guy personally, and if any of you know him or have contact with him, tell him I'd like to have him on the show to talk about this sometime, actually. Don't know the guy at all. Andrew Branca. Would love to meet him, but here's his book that I have right here. He wrote a book called The Law of Self-Defense Principles. I have a couple copies here. And he literally talks about all of these elements, and you can get this book for free from his website. Again, I don't even know this man. I'm not plugging his book for any other reason then. I mean, I am actually plugging his book because it's a good book to read. And let me just show you this real quick before I go back to showing the video, because I know it's hard to see. So this lawyer that's commenting here in a second, he wrote The Law of Self-Defense Principles by Andrew Attorney. See, I can't talk now listening to all these people that can't talk, right? I said Andrew Attorney Andrew Branca. And it goes through all of these pretty clear-cut principles, and I suggest you actually read this. Hold on real quick. I noticed a couple other super chats came in that I do want to read because I really appreciate you guys. Drain the Swamp. What's happening, man? How you doing? With a $20 super chat. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. He says, I talked to Wolford's secretary for over an hour on my way up north. She said Jason likes to hear from us, and I wasn't bothering him. Good, good. I do know Jason Wolford quite well. I've hung out with him in real life several times. So some of you guys. He was at my 2A EDU hangout. Right, Pillbox Bunker? shout out to Pillbox Bunker. We've had some hangouts at his place, and Jason was there, and that's good to hear. I do know Jason, as well as I met one of his staff members. So, yeah. Nice, man. No, that's good. I'm glad you're talking to people, dude. Keep it up. Thank you for telling me that. G23, what's happening, man? How you doing? Thank you for the super chat. He says, I don't trust Trump or Bondi. If they think they can get away with it, they will turn on us in a heartbeat, in my humble opinion. Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you, man. I was just trying to be fair, you know. I'm like, hey, so far they've been kind of turning the tide some. But I did go, but, you know, I'm watching them. Look, none of these people are good enough for me. Like, we're on the same page. But they've done a lot less worse, if not out and out better than I thought they would so far. Always keep those eyes open, everybody. John Q. Public with another super chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. He says, how does the full faith and credit clause article not apply to permitless constitutional carry in 36 states now, not apply to states like Michigan? I know, dude. Dude, like, I'm totally with you. Help us out, chat. Can anyone explain this? And no, here's the thing. This goes back to the very beginning of this stream. Where am I? What's going on? What country do I live in? Because in the United States of America, where the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, right? Yeah, shall not be infringed. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And another section of the Constitution, full faith and credit. Yeah, how can you be literally legal here and cross this imaginary little line in the sand, in the river, in the sidewalk, in the asphalt, whatever it may be, and now you're a felon? Makes me sick. Makes me sick. And here's the quick answer to your question. There's no way you should even have to ask this question in the United States of America. And it's sad. And it's a shame. And it's a damn shame how they're ruining so many people's lives when these are the people breaking the law. So that's actually my answer. We shouldn't even be having to talk about this. We should never have to talk about this. But we do. We do. Because for too long, too many people were sheep and too weak and just sat back and said, this is America, so it's always going to be great just because stuff was written down a long time ago, even though that's not the case, obviously. And we're about ready to lose this dang country soon. You can't even have a border without, you can't even have a country without borders. And they take the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I was just talking to my friend Mateo on the phone before this stream. He's like, well, clearly the Constitution now is just some kind of like whatever, like maybe a little suggestion that all these judges in all these states just thumb their nose at. Yeah, it's becoming more and more obvious every day. Hey, when enough people, though, when enough, just like the Declaration says, after a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably, right? Events is a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off this tyrannical government and to institute a new government that to them will seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Yeah, this stuff was talked about a long time ago. And you know what I've noticed, man? The older I get, the more things change, the more they actually stay the same, don't they? And just like the Bible says, there is nothing new under the sun. They were dealing with all this back in the 1770s. And literally Thomas Jefferson was predicting it. He knew they were dealing with it then, and he knew people just like me and you and in our time will be dealing with it again too, actually. Hey, I guess stuff just hasn't gotten bad enough, has it? Trump reinstated TikTok, so we're all good. We're all good, bro. Trump just invented TikTok. Look. You know what's going to happen? A guy like me that believes in the Constitution, speaks English, I'm going to get to the point where I'm not even going to recognize anything anymore and won't even be able to speak in this darn country. Bro, we got TikTok. Yeah. The CCP sitting there going, that's why people have the internet. They have their whatever. They have their Candy Crush. They have their TikTok. They have their little toy that vibrates, or whatever they have. You know what I mean? Anything possible. Anything possible to invoke more feminism in this country. Make it where you're supposed to be ashamed. You're supposed to be ashamed to be white in this country. You're supposed to be ashamed that you actually can speak somewhat articulate. You know, you're supposed to be ashamed that you're a man. You know what I mean? It's like, give me a break. But that's what's going on. I guess it just hasn't gotten bad enough yet. And here we are with Officer Chris Shure. I hope I'm wrong. Oh my gosh, do I hope I'm wrong. So much. But I think this guy's going to fry. He's going to go to prison, I think, for life. I just hope somehow it can be a hung jury. If it can just be a hung jury, yeah, the prosecutors will come back and retry it. They're going to retry this guy. Look, this is the smaller version of Derek Chauvin is what this is. Let's call a spade a spade. St. George Floyd. They built statues for him. Do you guys remember that? We talked about that on this stream, dude. Like, they painted this mural on the side of a building of St. George Floyd, right? Scumbag Floyd. But look, this nasty scumbag person. Derek Chauvin, by the way, also an innocent man, in my opinion. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of innocent people in prison. There really are. And hey, there's a lot of people that shouldn't even be in this country that need to get out. Two separate but related topics. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, they said it was a sunny day. You remember that story? Somebody has to remember this with me. It was a sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. They had just finished painting the mural on the side of the building. And then out of the blue, just bam, like this bolt of lightning comes out of the sky. And literally like fried the whole mural and made some of the bricks fall down from the wall. I mean, wow. I mean, that makes me think. Like, it just makes you think. Here's a little bit of the summary from Law of Self-Defense. He's been covering this 9 hours a day. And let's listen to a little bit of his synopsis of the Chris Shure daily summary of day 5.
So, what I'm going to do is, whoops.
This guy is an attorney and he is an expert in this.
I'm going to put up. I'm going to put this up so everybody knows what to look for. I'm going to put this up like that. I'm going to put that up for like 5 seconds, and then I'm going to come back and do the daily wrap up. That way, afterwards, the post-production guys can cut out.
This is his timestamp because these are 9-hour videos.
This 8.5-hour live stream.
He's going to cut this into a separate
the last
video.
10 or 15 minutes and post it up separately as just a daily.
He just hadn't posted it yet as of me doing this.
You know. Oh, Shane is telling me, someone's trying to explain. He's saying an accident close to a house and a cop uses it as an excuse to enter a home. But I don't understand how that would work. I mean, if there's an accident and somebody at fault flees from the scene of the
He'll be getting into the summary in 2 seconds, guys.
And a cop's in hot pursuit.
So
he can follow that hot pursuit person into the home. A warrant is not always necessary to enter a home. There are other conditions under which a police officer can enter a home. So, I don't know. I don't get it. Here's a super chat. Let's see. David Eberline, $5. Do you think the defense should hone in on the fact that Becker is the chief LEO of that county and he plays a key role in policy decisions? I think Becker would just say the policies are good and this cop violated the policies. Or, you know, he'd object to the judge and the judge
prosecutor, by the way,
the prosecutor's not on trial.
That's trying to fry this guy.
I think it would be difficult for the defense to get that kind of argument in. All right, so I've got another 50 pages of notes. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. There's so much happened today. I can't possibly get into detail in the summary. That's what the live stream is for. But I'm just going to, in maybe 10 minutes, kind of encapsulate the gist of what happened so people who are interested in going back to the live stream can do that. That would be awesome. So I'll have a 5-second pause, and then I'll be right back with the wrap-up. Hold on one moment. Just got to find it now.
Sorry, guys. I should have tracked to this point. I thought that's what he had done earlier, but we're right here. I just want you guys to listen to him for a minute.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Law of Self-Defense. I am, of course, attorney Andrew Branca for the Law of Self-Defense, a lawyer with expertise in use of force law, and also a member of the Supreme Court Bar. That's right, member of the Supreme Court Bar. And this is the daily summary of the 8.5 hours of live stream I did covering today, day 5 of the Chris Shure trial. The Chris Shure trial. For those who don't know, Chris Shure was a police officer in Grand Rapids, Michigan on April 4th, 2022. He was on patrol, saw a car with a bad plate, pulled the car over, and driving the car was one Patrick Lyoya. Now, Chris Shure happens to be white. Patrick Lyoya happens to be black. As soon as the stop happened, Lyoya popped out of his car, and the confrontation between the two began. At first, Lyoya was simply kind of passively resistant, but then he got physically violent, committed a felony assault on the officer, tried to run away. The officer pursued, tackled him. The fight went to the ground and back up and to the ground and back up and moves over a couple lawns, dragging the officer behind him. And ultimately, the officer, Shure, went to his taser, and Lyoya grabbed the taser. Once he touched that taser, he never let go of it. And ultimately, the suspect ended up in control of the officer's taser, turned to use it on the officer, at which point the officer shot and killed Patrick Lyoya with a single 9mm bullet to the back of the head. And he was shortly thereafter charged with murder in the death of Patrick Lyoya. 3 years later, we're...
Keep in mind, back of the head sounds terrible. It was due to the position in which they were struggling. If you see the camera, which I can't show that on YouTube, trust me. YouTube will not allow you to show that last second, like the shot. It's not in the back of the head like you might think. Don't think like concentration camp executioner style to the back of the head. Way different than that. I just wanted to clarify because that is part of what the prosecutors are saying, but it was due to the position in which they were rolling around at that time, if that makes sense.
We're currently watching this trial in real time, live streaming it every day, all day. And this is our 5th day of doing that. It looks like things are pretty close to the end. I would imagine this is the defense last witness today. Defense witness number 13, hopefully, God willing. And by the way, by far, I guess the Axon guy, the taser company guy was pretty good too. The police trainers were pretty good. But man, this last witness is handing the prosecutor his lunch. Post-digestion. So what do we see today? Day 5. Well, the first witness of the day was none other than the defendant himself, former police officer Christopher Shure, who is on trial in murder in this case. 34 years old, I believe he is currently, was 31 at the time of these events. He's married, grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, chose to become a police officer to serve his community, was on the force for 7 years by the time this event happened. Talked a lot about his training and experience, and then, of course, got into the confrontation. We watched a bunch of the videos, the body cam video, the cell phone video, the dash cam video. By the way, I've compiled all those videos for anyone who would like to access them.
Good night, Marco. Take it easy, man.
lawofselfdefense.com/Shure videos. That's Christopher Shure's last name, SCHURR videos. lawofselfdefense.com/Shure videos for anybody who would like to access those. Mostly, Chris Shure did fine on the witness stand. He didn't say anything that was terribly destructive. I did not like at all.
Do you guys notice how much all these other YouTubers plug their channels and plug all their money stuff more than my channel does? Just saying.
And he was direct examination of him was by I believe it's Mark Dodge. Let me see if I still have.
So far, the defense attorneys have been terrible, in my opinion.
Sorry, David Dodge. David Dodge is one of the 3 attorneys on this case. Did the direct examination of Chris Shure. The trouble is, all these lawyers seem to have this tendency to giggle. They giggle when they ask their questions. And sometimes Chris Shure was kind of smiling on the witness stand. And that, I thought, was terribly destructive. Terribly destructive. because
yeah, like I was watching this too. His defense attorneys would crack like these little like wry, almost like jokes during the questioning, and then like Chris Shure would kind of go like, "Huh." They weren't like joking about the fact that he shot the guy. It wasn't even like that, but it was just like, dude, you never want to present that demeanor in front of a jury, no matter what. I mean, even if it's stupid stuff like, is it true that maybe you were a completely straight A student? It's like, no, you don't make jokes even like that. Even though this guy was like a 3.8 GPA student, the officer was, but yeah, they were making like these little wry, like giggly, giddy jokes and goofy, really bad.
from the jury's perspective, somebody died here.
Yeah.
Patrick Lyoya, a black man, an immigrant,
Say
barefoot, was shot in the back of the head by a white police officer.
barefoot African immigrant. Look, it's not just me going off on all this stuff. This well-accomplished attorneys kind of having the same assessment as me.
Officer. It's not a laughing matter. A human life was lost, and the person who killed him is in this courtroom, in the witness stand, the defendant looking at life in prison.
I agree.
So there should have been nothing but stony-faced questions and testimony. There should have been a lot more discussion. I don't think there was any discussion of this defendant, of how tragic it was that this person had to die. Because you can do that. You can be sympathetic
I have the book,
to
guys.
Patrick Lyoya. It's super unfortunate. Nobody wishes that everybody wishes he was still alive today, especially this police officer looking at life in prison. They could have evinced a lot more sympathy.
What's up,
Whether
Pillbox?
you mean it
How
or
you
not,
doing, man?
by the way, this is all a theatrical performance for the jury. As usual, the defense team questioning seemed unstructured, disorganized, vague, no apparent direction, no apparent narrative arc. It just was not a good job of self-examination, and I kept seeing him smile. And I thought it was terrible. It did not look at all like a direct examination of your client that should have been rehearsed a dozen times in the conference room in the law firm. It looked like this is the first time they'd ever talked about these questions and answers, and that's not the way you do it when your client's life in a cage is at stake.
I agree.
Then we had the cross-examination by Prosecutor Becker, and he was, as usual, bullying, yelling, sarcastic self. Thank God for the defense. Prosecutor Becker is not a very good attorney, or apparently a very smart man. It's a gift to the defense, especially given how weak the defense team is.
Dude, this is like a total clown show. Trust me, guys. Listen to Andrew Branca here. Like, the judge, even the questions the jury's asking, because juries are allowed to ask questions of witnesses via a written note to the judge of Michigan. I know that sounds totally weird to most people, but Michigan has that too. The defense attorneys, the prosecutor, just clown show every way around. Like, I fear, and I hope it's a hung jury so you can get a retrial with competent legal counsel. I fear this cop's going to fry for this. It's not going well.
A lot of misrepresentations of the facts to try to make Chris Shure look bad. I thought Chris did fine on cross-examination. It could have been far, far worse for him. And it's also very helpful that the cross-examination was only half an hour, 35 minutes. For those who might have watched the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, Kyle Rittenhouse also took the witness stand. He was subject to cross-examination by prosecutor.
Dude, I met Kyle Rittenhouse. He's a really cool young man. I actually have something autographed by him back there that I cannot show you during the live stream, but just want to throw that tidbit in there. Spent some time with Kyle, like personally, and I like the dude, man. I like Kyle Rittenhouse.
Binger for like 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours. I don't know why Becker gave up on Shure after 35 minutes. I mean, it would seem to be the most fruitful opportunity for scoring serious points against the defense. But that was it, half an hour. And he let him go. There was a little bit of redirect, recross. There were a few questions from the jury. Let me see if I can find some of the jury questions here.
Nailed it. That's what it was. Part of an AR.
There were a few. Let's see.
What's up, Vince? How you doing, man?
People were asking about why didn't he use a taser immediately as soon as Patrick Leoya pushed him right beside the car before the foot pursuit began. Could you have used your taser at this point? The defendant said he thought that would be excessive at that point. I think he's probably right.
What's up, Carbon Spider?
But prior to deploying the taser, was the defendant, Patrick Leoya, trying to obtain any weapons from your belt? The answer was no. Did you smell alcohol? The answer is no. Did you prioritize trying to take the safety off of the taser? He had explained how Leoya's thumb was over the safety, so it wasn't acceptable.
Real quick here, Rosie, look up Women for Gun Rights in Michigan. A lady named Marcy Jankovic. She has a name that's hard to pronounce. We actually did a video together. Actually, yes, there are. Look up the Women for Gun Rights group, okay? And then I don't have their website right in front of me, but we did do a video about that topic. Hopefully that helps send you on the right path. They do actually have events like that and curriculums and such. So Women for Gun Rights, they're called. And there's a national group, but look at the Michigan one because you said in Lansing. They're near Lansing. So hopefully that helps you, Rosie. And reach out after the stream and remind me, and I can send you a link to their site if you're unable to find them. But I think that's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I think so too, James. We're just going to listen to this for one more second. Then I'm going to show you guys something crazy that happened in West Virginia. Like, whoa. I just wanted you to hear some of this from the esteemed attorney. Because, look, I wouldn't just, make all this up. But
but he could see the safety was in the disengaged position, so the taser was ready to fire. Did you know he was under the influence? The answer is no. When you pulled the taser, what was the position of Patrick Leoya? And his position was Leoya's back was facing the officer, and the back is where you want to tase him. So at the time he drew his taser, they were positioned appropriately for that. Of course, it takes time to deploy the taser, and in that time, Patrick Leoya had turned around to face the officer again and grabbed the taser, after which Leoya never let go of that taser for the rest of his life. Why did you shoot him in the head? One of the jurors asked. He said, I wasn't really aiming for the head. The way I was positioned, I only really had his upper back and head as targets. I pulled the gun, kind of generally aligned it and fired.
He had the point shoot.
Happened to hit him in the head.
He wasn't in a stance to hold it.
Then we had the
fighting for his life.
Witness,
the officer
defense
was.
witness number 11, David Blake. Isn't that the name of a magician? David Blake, an expert on police practices, frankly, a very weak witness for the defense. His academic credentials were wishy-washy at best, a little bit of police training.
Yeah.
His demeanor was not impressive on the witness stand. Again, his answers generally seemed very wishy-washy, and the defense was very poor at connecting this expert's testimony to the relevant facts of the case. What's the key question in this trial? It's not whether or not Chris Shure shot and killed Patrick Leoya. That's uncontested. The key question in this case is, at the time he made the decision to fire the shot, did this officer reasonably perceive an imminent unlawful threat of death or serious bodily injury at the taser
To me, yes.
Patrick Leoya?
To me, yes.
So everything should be tying back to that question. That's the language the jury is going to be looking at in the jury room when they have the verdict form in front of them. And the defense just failed to do that. It just felt like kind of a meandering conversation with this expert,
I agree.
David Blake. And then on cross-examination, Prosecutor Beggar just dug in hard on this guy's wishy-washy credentials.
Look, guys, I could keep going. I just wanted you to hear a little bit from the attorney. Turn you on that if you want to follow this case more, he's doing a daily recap of it, 9-hour live streams, if that's what it takes to show through all of it. And, he wrote a book. Again, I don't even know the man. I do not know Branca. I always want to say Branca, but I think it is pronounced Branca, but I do own his book. I'd suggest you read it. This is serious, serious stuff. This could be you in that situation that the cop's in. Not in the exact situation. You wouldn't be apprehending somebody, but you know what I'm getting at. You could find yourself in a jury potentially after having to fight for your life, then having to fight for your freedom. All right, I'm going to read another super chat here. Then I'm going to show you this craziness that happened in West Virginia, where it's just like, whoa. John Q. Public with another super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He says, I'm not an ignorant person, but do you know how much legal research that I have been doing for my own case because the court-appointed public defender will not? I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And look, man, like, if you look at this cop here in his trial, those aren't even public defenders from what I understand. Those are supposed to be from some big league law firm, you know? Best of luck to you, man. That's terrible. Right, Mateo? Now, look. Okay, so this over here, I'm actually sharing this on my X. So make sure you guys check out my X if you want a link to this next video. By the way, make sure you're checking my X and locals. I'm going to show you guys this real quick because I ordered some of these a bit ago, and I'm like super happy about it. Check out this case. Now, YouTube, whoever's watching, this is just an empty bag. Dude, this was like $7. And as soon as this is over, I'll repost it again for all of you, both on X and locals. But this is like a smoking deal. So I will let you all know how to get that after the stream's over. But this is just an empty. It's a range bag, but dude, it's got like a hard like divider in it. These little bungees here where you could put mags in there. Dude, this is going to make a great tool bag. I bought 10 of these with my own money. Not a sponsor. I just literally bought 10 of these. Check locals and X afterwards, and you can know what I'm talking about here. But I'm going to use these as little tool bags. Behind the seat of the truck, specialty tool kit that maybe didn't come in a good box. Plenty of compartments internally. Nice zippers externally. 600D nylon. Dude, for like this money, that's insane. That's like way over half price. Nice reinforced bottom. So I just wanted to show you that before and we'll talk more about that on locals tomorrow night as well. You can use these bags for anything. Just keep in mind, like, you know, you think yourself, well, that's a dual bag for a certain something you can't touch on YouTube. Okay. But then you start thinking tools, maybe like little supplies, toiletries for when you go on a trip, you know. Just stuff like that. And then, dude, like as soon as I show my wife, she's instantly like, dude, I want one. So I gave her one. My baby girl, look, she's always going to be my baby girl, who just turned 13 like a few days ago. That's all right, though. She caught up to me, but then I made another year gap yesterday on her, if you know what I'm saying. But no, baby girl saw this, and she was like, I want one. Like, and it just has like a little picture of a dragon on it. She's going to use it for school supplies and stuff, you know. Medical bag, yes, Richard Denny. I agree. But yeah, I know where these are $7. I'm not going to share it here. I have shared it on X and locals, but I will refresh that and make new posts because when this started, this stream, these were still in stock. Oh, man. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, you can literally put almost anything in it. And again, I'm not trying to be at nauseum, but like I get super excited over this stuff. I'm like a bad guy, but it's got the Velcro in the bottom where you could move like the divider and hook and loop here. You can move the divider over to the side and secure something else here. Dude, I'm literally thinking like screwdrivers right now. You know what I'm saying? With these, see what I'm talking about? Those little elastic pouches. Padded. Yeah, like, I don't know. So I'm going to use a couple of them for their quote intended purpose. The rest are going into tool bags. Of course, I had 10, but now I only have 8 left because the beautiful ladies wanted them. And hey, man, they can't say I never gave them anything now, right? All right, now let's check this out. And again, this is on X, and this is sick. Oh, this one's going to really piss me off. Okay, so we just got done showing a cop that, in my opinion, was doing the right thing. We already talked about all that. I hope not. I hope not, but I'm afraid he's going to fry. And we've talked enough about that. Now I'm going to show you this other one. And this is a half-hour video. We're not going to watch the full half hour. I'm going to skip around, link to it, and my opinion on it is over there on X. Make sure you're following 2AEDU on X. How many beers will it hold? I don't know, man. Let me know. What's up, Andrew Westgate? Nice to see you, man. I try to be a decent guy, but someone just called me an old man in this chat, you know? Baby girl, see, she caught up to me just a couple weeks ago. She closed the gap by a year. She was trying to catch daddy in age. And then yesterday, I just gained that year on her. All right, let's pull this up here. All right. Dude, this is sick, man. This makes me so angry. But I just want to watch it for a minute, not to leave on a negative note or nothing like that. But, man, we got to put this into perspective. And that's why we're, like, in turmoil right now. And I'm not too happy about this. Thank you, Andrew Westgate. What's happening? Jane, how you doing? Dude, EV3 Dale, Lone Wolf. Wow, there's a lot of good people in the chat tonight. Dude, Jerky, keep it up, guys. Chime in. Tell me great things to do with these bags. I'll buy 10 more. You know what I'm saying, Mike McLuhan? If you guys can give me enough ideas. Hey, it's cheaper than buying the stuff that actually goes in them, you know? Bargain shopping, $7 bag. I mean, wow. All right, let's look at this video. This is from a civil rights lawyer. He's a big timer. He's got 1 million subs. Maybe some of you have seen this. If not, the direct links on my Twitter make it easier for you guys to find this. This is in the state of West Virginia, dude. And like West Virginia is such a beautiful state. But I've noticed you guys have a lot of cop problems there too. Check this out.
Wake up, man.
Body cam footage you are about to see has never been seen publicly and caused the feds to indict a West Virginia police officer. When that went to a criminal trial, the jury who saw it found the officer not guilty.
Oh,
Sheriff's Department, man, wake up.
oh.
Don't be swinging or I'm gonna put you in handcuffs.
This is some of the most disturbing police body cam footage that I have ever seen.
You want the solution? There's the solution. Do you like that solution? I got that problem solver, man. I got that problem solver, huh? It's caliente, man. I didn't know anybody. Mucho caliente. Now, could you calm down so I can fix my tie, sir? I look a mess. I'm all disheveled.
Sounds like this.
Stop, boy! Stop! Boy! We do this all night, man. Do this all night long. Stop stepping on me.
Dude, the only thing, I'm telling you guys, we're going to skip around and not watch the full half hour, but I'll cut to the chase. The only thing this young man was doing wrong, per se, well, he was doing nothing wrong. He was laying there drunk in a hotel that him and his friends had rented, and he was laying there sleeping. That's literally the offense that this guy did. I'm not joking, like, literally.
At Grainger, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help keep your workplace.
Do the all that,
Wait.
okay?
Rise and shine. Sit. Yes, sir. Yeah, man, you need
The
to
guy's
watch
face
this.
is like all bloodied up.
Watch, because you've been real shitty with me. If you step at me like that again, we'll you up, Winston. You understand me? Yes, sir. I'm never doing it again, sir. Push your sleeves up.
Let's pretend that you are a juror. I'll show you the evidence. Give me your verdict.
Okay, so this is the civil
I want to
rights
thank all
lawyer.
of you for celebrating with me passing the 1 million subscriber mark. It's nice,
Kind of skim through
but
here
it
for a
was
second.
denied, as I detailed in that video over 2 years ago. After body cam
This
footage
guy's
was
been
not
trying to get the footage for a couple years. It was denied because originally the federal government had stepped in and was pressing criminal charges on this West Virginia police officer. Now that he's been acquitted by a jury, the cop's acquitted, by the way, and not is he not in prison, but he's actually like back on the streets with a government badge and a government gun again as a policeman. This guy goes to talk about how the cop's family sent him hate mail. So he went through and he's putting it out there. So you can watch this video for all that context.
available anywhere on in his criminal prosecution,
This is him getting
responded
into
to
all
a
of that.
disturbance at the Residence Inn Hotel on January
Okay, let's
20th,
get into the facts of the
2018.
case.
WVU is up closer to Pittsburgh. These are the facts of what happened according to the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District
Listen
of
to
West
this.
Virginia. Deputy Lance Carezza and 6 other police officers responded to a disturbance at the Residence Inn Hotel on January 20th, 2018. An investigation at the scene determined none of the suspects broke laws or would be arrested, but hotel management asked that they be escorted from the property.
But if we don't have any probable cause for an arrest, you guys be packing your stuff. We'll be waiting for you. And you'll escort you off the property.
Okay, listen to that. We have no probable cause for an arrest. So right away, you're getting the context here. Cops come in, disturbance, allegedly noise. The hotel management wants them trespassed. You just heard it out of the cop's mouth. They're not committing any crimes, though. No probable cause for an arrest. Just, we need to see that you leave. That's it. That's why they're there. And keep this in mind with what this cop does to this young man.
We're trying to stop you guys from getting arrested. If we tell you don't go in there, don't go in there. If we tell you to be quiet, be quiet.
Thank you.
We're trying to figure out a way to get you guys out of here so nobody gets arrested.
Bull crap. They have the freedom of speech. They can actually say whatever they want, in my opinion.
As the group exited the floor, Carezza ordered one of the guests to open the door to a nearby room where he found the man sleeping.
See?
Carezza then allegedly began to shake the man and hit his feet to wake him up. When the guest explained he was sleeping, Carezza threw him off the bed and beat him. As the contact escalated, Carezza restrained the guest as the 6 other officers were in the room. This particular victim had a flashlight in his face and thought it was his friends just messing around with him. It turned out it was a sheriff's deputy, and from there, it got really out of control. Carezza battered and used pepper spray on the victim while the victim was handcuffed. Then, while the suspect was being taken out of the property, Carezza allegedly continued to use unnecessary force. Then, the police report that was filed after this happened did not indicate the pepper spray had been deployed after handcuffs were put on the victim. In fact, it said that pepper spray was deployed before handcuffs were used, which was not consistent with the video evidence that we have.
So he's
Now,
filing false
this
documents,
is the narrative
right?
that Deputy Lance Carezza wrote in his report. Deputies were advised that there were multiple males fighting and there were threats being made to shoot someone. Upon our arrival, we made contact with 2 rooms of males in various states of intoxication. I made contact with a male later identified as Quentin Graciano, who was lying on a bed inside one of the hotel rooms. I announced myself several times, but Graciano refused to get up. I attempted to shake Graciano awake, and he pushed me away. I eventually was able to wake Graciano fully, at which time he struck me with his fist. Graciano then rolled out of the bed and a physical confrontation ensued. Here's the actual footage.
This is crazy. Thank you, Rescue Nut. I appreciate it, man.
Sheriff's office.
Super chat. It's happy belated birthday.
Step back for me.
Yeah, my birthday was yesterday.
Take your hands out of your pockets.
Step out here. Hands out of your pockets.
Yep, sure. There you go.
Just watch how
Sorry,
they're
sir.
acting right away.
Step out here. What's going on tonight?
Step out.
We're trying to
Keep your hands out of your pockets. I'm not going to tell you
take it
again.
out.
Step
Yeah.
outside. Hands out of your pockets. I don't know how many times I have to tell you. Stop moving. You understand me? Keep your hands out of your pockets.
These are just some young men that were kind of drinking and maybe carrying on a little bit too loud. That's all that's even being alleged.
I'm good.
No crime alleged.
What's going on with you?
What's up?
What's going on?
Nothing.
Something's going on here because we're here. What's going on?
Nothing. What do you mean? I'm in this hotel room.
Okay, was there an argument or a fight?
No.
He's just laying there on the
Nothing?
couch.
No.
Give me your ID.
You can have it. Yeah.
Okay, they just
Dude, these guys rented a hotel room. Now, did they deserve to get kicked out? Maybe. If they were carrying on and other guests couldn't sleep, I get it. But at the same time, like, dude, they're doing the responsible thing. They're drinking, whatever, not drinking and driving like the the suspect that just so happens to be black, that was being apprehended by the policeman that just so happens to be white. This is total opposite though here. This is where these guys are in the hotel. They've rented a hotel for the night. Like, you know, isn't that what we always tell people? Come on, kids, don't drink and drive. If you're going to do it, stay home, run a hotel room, you know.
Said that there was a
These guys
fight.
are all
So what's
clearly
your
drunk,
malfunction?
but they're in a hotel room.
There's no malfunction. You can ask.
No, I said what's your malfunction? Because they're all admitting that there was a fight.
Gosh,
You
what a
can ask
pig.
them. I
Look
don't
at
know.
this pig.
They did ask them. I'm asking you because I asked you if there was a fight and you said no.
As far as I know, there wasn't. No.
So you're sitting here and there's 6 dudes fighting in the room and you have no idea what's going on. You're being very unhelpful and very uncooperative.
1000%. Yes.
He doesn't have to talk to you at all. You never have to talk to the police, guys.
1000% yes what?
1000%. Yes. If there was a fight, I was here for it unknowingly.
You're that drunk?
No, I was here.
Stop talking.
My body corrects. Lay on the couch.
Okay, stop talking. He just got done berating the young man because he wasn't talking enough. This is the kind of crap that I can't stand. And this is nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing. Just wanted to set the stage. Look, they continue to be belligerent in the hall.
Which one? I have both rooms, but
These cops are just harassing these guys, just giving them the whole 9 yards.
Sorry, guys.
What's going on tonight?
We're just.
Okay, here's the main
Hands out of your
cop
pockets.
body
I don't know
cam.
how many times I have to tell you, stop moving. Do you understand me? Keep your hands out of
What's your reasonable and articulable suspicion I've committed a crime? Is what I would have asked.
your pockets.
Out of your pockets.
Anyone else need?
Look, the one cop's like, hands out of your pockets. You can see the other cop right there giving orders, empty out your pockets. See, there's like 10 cops there, literally having this powwow simultaneously. Did you guys catch that? The one cop's giving an order for the one guy to empty his pockets out, while it looked like the other guy was reaching in his pockets, probably thinking the cop was talking to him, right? Because they're just like 5 feet away. And then the cop's like, put your hands in your pocket one more time. It's like, well, dude, I just heard him say go in your pocket. This is literally crazy already.
I'm sorry. I'm good.
The only allegation is by hotel employees that these guys might have been being a little bit too loud.
Okay. Who's in 327?
Dude, here's where it goes.
Which one?
crazy.
The one to your right.
I have both. Stand up, man. Step out here.
The friend's trying to help the cop. I have the key, he says.
I'm with them.
Okay, well, let's see if you got a key. Does anybody have a gun?
Dude, there's literally Supreme Court precedent that while you're lawfully occupying a hotel room, meaning you haven't been formally and legally evicted from it, you're under the terms of your agreement, you've paid your fare, you've paid your rent for the hotel room for the night, that you actually have protection of unreasonable searches and seizures to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects in a hotel room. The cops actually have to have a warrant to come in here. There's literally court precedent over this. Don't forget that.
There's no gun.
They've got no guns.
Has any of you guys not been drinking?
By the way, if you're asking yourself, well, wait a minute, can cops just go into hotel rooms? Do they need a warrant for that? If you're asking yourself that, you're completely right. Apparently, this was not even part of the criminal allegations against Deputy Carezza. In West Virginia, we are in the Fourth Circuit. The Fourth Circuit, consistent with U.S. Supreme Court precedent, Stoner versus California from 1964, recognizes that a hotel guest has a reasonable expectation of privacy in their hotel room.
All right, watch this. So this guy has a key card. He's going to let these cops in there where his friend's asleep, trying to help the police. Look, they would have had to have a warrant to go in there had the friend not let them in.
Sheriff's Department.
Watch this. I'll be right back, guys. Just listen. Just watch this. It's insane.
Wake up, man. Sheriff's Department.
Hey,
Wake up, man.
yeah. Go on.
Sheriff's Department, man. Wake up.
Fuck. So it's just time.
Wake up, man. Wake up. Oh. Sheriff's Department, wake up. Sheriff's Department, man, wake up. Don't be swinging, or I'm gonna put you in handcuffs. You just.
At that very moment, Deputy Koretsa's body cam shuts off or is turned off. Which is it? I don't know. During the jury trial, after all the witnesses had testified and the evidence had been admitted, Deputy Koretsa's defense attorney asked the judge to acquit him, to just take it out of the hands of the jury. The judge issued an order describing the evidence that was admitted against Deputy Koretsa. So I will read to you the findings by the federal judge who presided over this criminal trial. Witness testimony has demonstrated Koretsa used force on Mr. Graciano after he was restrained in handcuffs. Indeed, the government's evidence has shown within moments of Koretsa entering the locked hotel room of the sleeping Mr. Graciano, the force began. Upon Mr. Graciano waking to the pokes and prods of Koretsa, Mr. Graciano swats Koretsa with an open hand. Koretsa's body camera is switched off, and somehow Mr. Graciano
The dude's in a hotel room sleeping in a room that he's legally occupied.
was on the floor of the hotel room, and a
Let's
have
go
test
forward
was
here.
offered in any reasonable jury to conclude
Look, link
that
to this
Deputy
whole video
Koretsa
in
was
my,
guilty
X
of
post.
playing
I just
with
don't
the
wanna
specific
rip off the guy's
prosecuting,
video.
ignorant that he was completely ignorant. They had to acquit him from a criminal federal prosecution. That does not mean that he didn't violate this man's constitutional rights. This federal judge found there was sufficient evidence for the jury to come back guilty had they chosen to do so. So here we go back to Deputy Coe's body cam, which did catch some of what was happening.
Give me your hands. Watch, sorry, he's doing it. Give me your hands. Give me your hands. I got you. Please stop. Please no, I want nothing. You want the solution?
Give him the solution.
There's the solution. Do you like that solution? I got that problem solver, man. I got that problem solver, huh? That's the problem solver. Right there, that's the problem solver. Man, my ties. You see that? Unbelievable.
When I say the other cops here muddied the waters for the jury, this is the sort of thing I'm talking about. So in the video, the jury hears Koretsa talking about the solution and talking about the problem solver. We all know what he's talking about. This is an excerpt of the jury trial transcript. When Deputy Ethan Mongold was asked under oath, well, what was Koretsa talking about? Do you know what the solution or the problem solver was? This was his answer. I don't. Question. Do you know why you said give him the solution? And remember, Mongold said, give him the solution.
They're literally threatening to kill this kid, asking the kid if he wants to be killed, and the other cop saying, do it. That's what's going on here. In a legally occupied hotel room, sleeping. Now, allegedly, there was noise coming from the room before. Maybe the young men were wrestling and stuff and making some noise. I get it. Maybe they need to leave the hotel. This guy's off in a room totally by himself sleeping, as you just saw, getting woken up, initially thinking it's his friends playing a prank on him. And, dude, they bloodied his face. Like there's pictures of this where it just shows him completely annihilated. But let's continue.
Responding to Koretsa.
You want the solution?
When he was asked, do you know why you said give him the solution? What was his answer? I don't. I have no recollection of saying it. But he did admit that Mr. Graciano, at that point, was handcuffed with his hands behind his back, which is crucial because all of these uses of force that occurred while Mr. Graciano was handcuffed, at that point, were all unreasonable. I mean, unless the jury were convinced otherwise.
This cop got off.
Get your feet out. Hey, stop
This is protecting his
That's right. I'll
service.
give away. I'll give a little bit of this. A little bit of this.
They're pepper spraying him while he's already cuffed.
You done moving? Keep blood, man. Back up. Stop fighting, man.
Stop fighting. He's got 8 pigs on top of him.
What is that? Pepper spray.
Pepper spray.
Caliente, man. Mucho caliente.
That sounds like racial slurs. The way they're doing that, you know? This cop
Could you
racist?
calm down so I can fix my tie, sir? I look a mess. I'm all disheveled. Somebody lost their name tag, too.
There's going to be more from the name tag. This cop starts going ham on him over the name tag.
My name tag, too, sir. Really? How is anyone going to identify me as a deputy now? Stop fighting! Stop fighting!
Dude, he's been cuffed to pepper spray
all right, man.
for 10 minutes.
Do this all night long.
You can?
We got too many people in this big kid.
Let's get him up.
Did you hear? We got too many people.
The
in
internal
this video.
investigation file did include one more officer's body cam that captured
Literally, the cop, we got too many people in here. Like, dude, at this point, there's like 10 of these. This is literally looks like a gang of thugs.
some of the aftermath.
147. I was unable to call the last week.
28663-073.
They're just harassing all these young men out here.
147.
Go ahead.
We tell you to be quiet, be quiet.
Thank you.
We're trying to figure out a way to get you guys out of here so nobody gets arrested.
How about they were in a room not hurting anybody at all, as evident by, again, there was never an allegation of a crime against any of these young men. Just keep this in mind. And the cop's still like, oh, we're just trying to keep you from getting arrested. For what? For what?
Just doesn't sound
Okay.
like that's all.
So just be quiet until we get it figured out.
I would have turned around and said, F you. Look, they just have to stand there while they're getting pummeled.
Do this all night long.
Spits his dip in the sink like, no, this is nothing.
We got too many people.
Like, yeah.
Get him up.
Yeah.
Come on, Sarge. Take care of the tie. Say the
Look at
tie,
this.
please, Sarge.
Take care of the tie, and they laugh.
They got them all.
Please, I give up. I can't go. Stop resisting. Stop.
Stop resisting.
Step it off. Stop trying to stop my feet. I'm not trying.
You just be an animal, you go to prison.
Please, please, stop. Stop.
Pertaining to after the footage cuts off, Deputy Carezza was also charged with allegedly lying to the FBI and falsifying his report. In regards to that, the federal judge who heard the evidence during the jury trial had this to say in response to the defendant's motion to dismiss. When a reasonable juror compares the video evidence, witness testimony, and Carezza's use of force report,
So the
she
judge
could find
basically
beyond
said
a
they're
reasonable
guilty.
doubt that Carezza
Guilty, but the
Carezza
jury
used
acquitted
niche.
him.
Mucho caliente.
But Carezza only reported his use of pepper spray on Mr. Graciano before he was in
All right, now
handcuffs.
check this out.
Finally,
Back at the
Carezza
old
marked
Valleyport. We're almost done here.
You awake? Rise and shine. All right, what's on this bench, man? Do not be spitting and shit. You understand me, Winston? Yes, sir. We don't want to go through the whole thing again, do we? Never again, sir. All right. Now turn around here and sit down, Winston.
Talk about mental duress and abuse. Just watch these next couple.
Sit. Yes, sir. All right, let's get some pictures of Winston.
Now they're bleeping out his face for privacy, but there's still photos you can find of him online. His face at this point is just bloodied, like blistered from the burns and bloodied. Like he almost looks like a piece of roadkill in the face at this point. Just saying.
Yeah.
You couldn't see a lot of it, but he got beaten really bad in that hotel room.
Winston made some poor decisions tonight, didn't we, Winston?
I'll never make one again, sir.
Yeah. People say that all the time, Winston. You know what they do, though? They make more poor decisions.
I never want to feel it, you know.
Yeah, most people don't, Winston. All right, look straight ahead.
You can see some of it even through the blur.
Look up here, Winston. Look at me,
How
man.
bloodied
Yes,
it is.
that one eye not
Face
open?
is.
Yes, sir. How you take pictures of it?
Doesn't even know how to take the picture.
This? Shame. Fucking Christmas, man.
Sure, he found it.
Winston, you gonna get me in more trouble, man. You gonna let me fingerprint you and shit. We're not gonna scrap anymore.
Yes, sir.
Because I promise you, man, I'm gonna come out on top again.
Yes, sir. I believe you, sir.
All right, man.
The other
Clean
cop
it up.
laughing.
Yes, sir.
Jack,
Walk over there and take a left in that room.
Video.
Yes, sir.
Every last one.
Winston will take these cuffs off, man.
Even
I
the
swear,
one
man. Like I've been, believe it or not, this has been me calm, man.
Yes, sir.
Even when I was hitting you and shit, that was me calm.
And these other cops are just witnessing. This reminds me of the Nuremberg trials. I'm just following orders. I just have a job to do. Meanwhile, Derek Shure, who was actually protecting his community, I hope there's a mistrial for sure because I think he's going to fry. But look at these guys gallivanting around, smiling, snide, laughing. They all think this is so funny. This guy was never alleged to have committed a crime. He was sleeping in a room legally rented by him, and that was it. Just remember all that.
If you try to fight me in my house, I will absolutely annihilate
Listen,
you. Yes, there's not going to be anything left, man. You understand me? Like, I will lose my shit in here.
Yes,
this is my home.
This is my home? No, it's not. That's paid for by the taxpayer. You're supposed to be a public servant. You work for us. This is a tyrannical government. This is what people mean when they refer to some of these as pigs. This is jackbooted the thugs. This is my house, he says. Excuse me? No, it's not. You're a public servant, and that building is not owned by you. It's owned by the taxpayers of that jurisdiction in West Virginia. Oh.
You do not come into my home and with me, Winston. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Come into my home.
Right cuff, and push you straight to the back of your head. You understand that, Winston?
Yes, sir.
Now, wait, do that, man. I'm gonna go eat something real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, I'm just gonna go eat something real quick.
Have you seen this? It's absolutely insane. Look at the presentation on what's inside this can.
Yeah, he's gonna have some marks.
He's gonna have some marks. Yeah.
You feel like they'll use him for that?
They might. I call him and ask him.
Call him and ask him. I don't think
They're all smiling. They think this is funny.
the situation.
Look at these clowns wearing costumes.
Will they take him like that? Unbelievable, Winston. You've become a huge pain in my ass.
I know, sorry, sir. Something I can do to
Did you hear what he just said? Looking like that, you've become a pain in my ass. This guy's a pain in Officer Jackboot's ass because he bloodied him up for not a crime, never even got accused of a crime, of sleeping in a bed.
Yes, sir.
Nah, it's unfixable. Winston, you know what FUBAR means?
Unfixable.
I'll do whatever I can.
This cop shouldn't be among us.
I'll make it right. Well, EMS refusal
We
work.
should not be allowed in a free society.
EMS refusal work?
I mean, yeah, but we definitely need to, clean them up. What do you think?
I can knock them myself, sir. I don't have to get dirty, sir.
Because they ask you down there if
All right, Quentin, we'll get you out, man. We'll take some more pictures of you.
And these pig thugs are willing to do all of this on camera. He set his body camera right there. They know that they're being recorded. They know that potentially the whole world can see them. They just don't care. They just don't care. These people are going to do whatever the hell they want. None of them got in a lick of trouble for this. Unreal.
Thank you, sir.
Gotta stand up.
Yes, sir.
To even talk to a citizen like this.
Walk over here.
Keep going. I got you. Keep going.
All right. Look straight up. All right. Turn your body to the right, man.
These pigs are such wusses, too. These guys are such wusses. If they didn't have that badge and they didn't have that whatever, they'd have a hard time, this team of thugs, with the 7th grade girls basketball team, actually. Nope, they've got their badge, they've got their immunity, they've got their whatever. This is what gives cops a bad name, right here. And the verbal stuff they're saying afterwards and the way they're acting to me is almost just as bad as the physical abuse they did.
Did you shit yourself, Winston? What does that smell, man? It smells like feces.
F you.
Winston, we're going to fingerprint you. Yes, sir.
Dude, he got the crap beat out of him with 8 pig thugs on top of him, spraying him with pepper spray, pummeling him to the ground, threatening to kill him at every second. Didn't see them give him any opportunities for a bathroom break. They all go into the bathroom, eating lunch, whatever they want to do.
Listen to me, Winston. I want to refresh you on this, man. You said that you were done a few times and you continued to fight.
The dude seriously, clearly needs medical care. He can't even sit up under his own power. This is someone who's obviously in a state of, yes, inebriation, which there was never any allegation that he was a minor. Nothing like that. Just remember, he was asleep in a hotel room. He's been badly beaten, woken up in the middle of a sleep. Clearly looks like someone that needs medical care right now.
Look, man, well, I'm going to lose my shit on you. At this point, my patience with you is done. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Do you feel me on that? Yes, sir. All right, man. Take these handcuffs off, man. If you so much as push me, man, I'm going to you up. All right.
Jackboot thug. Look at that jerk. Look at him.
Motherfucker. Oh, man. This was given to me when I very first started this job by someone, man. If you made me lose it once, so you're all upset. Put your hands straight to the back of your head. You understand that? Yes, sir.
Deputy, you good? You need further assistance?
Straight to the back of your head, Winston. Do it now. Hand to the back of your head. Hand to the back of your head. Oh.
Look at this.
You good? You need
No, I'm good.
The dude clearly needs medical
All right,
attention.
Winston, stand up.
He can't even hardly move. They keep blurring his face out. Go look up pictures of this. His face is just like
All right, step over here, man. We'll do your finger.
badly beat.
Push your sleeves up here a little bit. Yeah, man, you need to watch it, Winston. You need to watch it because you've been real shitty with me. If you step at me like that again, we'll you up, Winston. You understand me? Yes, sir. I'm never doing it again, sir.
Thug pig wusses.
Push your sleeves up. You know what? Stand up, man. I want to do your left. I appreciate you wanting to be super compliant. Don't be breathing on me, man. Don't be breathing on me either.
Don't be breathing on me.
I guess we can see why they didn't want to give me the footage.
He's not allowed to breathe. Are you kidding me? Don't breathe.
Outside of like gruesome death situations, this is some of the most disturbing police body cam footage that I have ever seen. This guy appears to be a complete psychopath.
Yeah.
The way he treated this guy, Mr. Graciano, through all this, do you know what happened with the criminal charges afterwards? The prosecutor's office, on their own, unsolicited, boom, dismissed all the charges.
Yeah, it's a big club and you and I aren't in it. Neither was that kid.
Like they didn't want anything to do with it. I wonder why. Nobody would have ever seen this body cam, but for the feds stepping in. There also was a civil lawsuit and it settled for like 175 grand. And at first I was like,
that means the kid probably got 10% of that. That's how this usually works with those. You know, you don't have money. You hire a law firm. They represent you up front. They take 90%. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that is how that usually works.
I want to see that body cam because that's a lot. But now after watching it, I feel like no wonder the civil rights lawyers didn't want to give me that footage because the footage is terrible. In my opinion, the settlement should have been way, way more than that. But hey, look at what the jurors in that jurisdiction did. How can you watch that?
See, we get the government we deserve. There were jurors in that jurisdiction of West Virginia that said that tyrant jackboot was innocent. So look, this all goes full circle. I guess we just get the government we deserve, don't we? Very frustrating.
And to quit that police officer.
Quit.
As a trial lawyer, I respect jury verdicts. I also know that juries get it wrong. This illustrates how difficult it is to hold police officers accountable.
Jury said that it's fine, all of that. was totally fine.
When you have this case, and even then, jurors who want to be able to trust their police officers will bend over backwards.
I remember coming back to my desk. One of the first things that my mentor was answering my phone.
Bend
Right?
over
She was on the
backwards
phone.
to get that jack
To let them off the
you know
hook.
what.
As we know,
Remember, if it wasn't for his friend opening the door for the cop, respecting authority, respecting the badge, saying, "Officer, I'm here to help," after all the cops were treating all those young men like complete crap the whole time. Supreme Court precedent, Circuit Court of Appeals in that circuit precedent. They would have had to have a warrant to go in that room.
in our criminal justice system, not guilty does not mean innocent. The prosecution has the burden to prove beyond any reasonable doubt. If they don't meet that burden, and perhaps they didn't hear, then the jury has to acquit. That does not mean that there were no civil rights violations. There were other elements in a criminal case and a higher burden of proof than you'd have in a civil rights lawsuit. Through this video seems to be absolutely
problem solver, huh?
The whole video, if you want to watch it uninterrupted, it's on my X. I posted it.
Now, could you calm down so I can fix my tie, sir? I look a mess. I'm all disheveled. Stop, boy! Stop! Boy! All night, man.
Does he look like he could run in a
Do
narrow
this all
hallway
night
with
long.
6 cops on him?
Stop stepping on me! Oh, come on, man. Face my property. Destroy my nameplate.
My nameplate.
Rise and shine. Sit.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, you need to watch it, Winston. You need to watch it, 'cause you've been real shitty with me. If you step at me like that again, we'll you up, Winston. You understand me? Yes, sir. I'm never doing it again, sir. I didn't mean to, sir. Push your sleeves up.
he's out there right now. This is the same officer that the FBI concluded,
This
that the
cop's out there right
Department
now.
of Justice concluded,
He's out
and that
patrolling right
a
now.
federal judge concluded,
The badge,
lied,
his gun,
not just to the FBI, but
his
lied in
immunity.
his written police reports. Yet he is still working as a police officer. Absolutely one of the most insane videos I have ever covered. As I said in the beginning, you are a juror now. Let me know in a comment, what is your
What do you guys think about that? Yeah, literally crazy. Well, I'm going to check up on a couple of the chats here. We've been going well over 2 hours, but hopefully you guys had a good time watching the stream. Shout out to all of you who have been watching live tonight. Shout out to anyone who's still watching on replay. And don't forget to leave a comment. I'm going to check and see if I have any other chats to catch up with here. We had Dale, member for 47 months. Well, thank you for the member super chat. Dale says, happy birthday, old man. Jeez. I guess I am getting kind of old, but man. And again, thank you for the happy belated birthday wishes. Rescue nut. All right. Well, I thought that was crazy. This guy still has his badge. He still has his gun. And I don't know, man. I hope you guys all, like I said, enjoyed the stream tonight. I tried to cover a lot. This is pretty deep stuff. The stream did go rather long, but now do you see how this is all tied together? This is why, man. Like, I'm watching the way this Chris Shure, who seems like a pretty good dude, in my opinion, he seems totally innocent, self-defense. I'm afraid, unless he gets lucky enough with a mistrial and gets better defense lawyers later, I'm afraid he's going to fry. And then we just literally watch that one cop in particular, but really all of them just watching there, laughing along, being complicit in it. Some more, some less, but I'm sorry, all of them were involved. And that's why, dude, like, look, man, I'm not marching with BLM. Trust me. We'll never be friends. I'm the complete opposite of those guys. But I'm not going to just fly some unequivocal thin blue line flag too, because, man, I just see too much of this. This is not the only video I've seen. It's not the only video you've seen. But there's just too much of this. And we have some major problems in this country. And I know it's like, dude, when you ride the fence on something, you know, I'm not riding the fence though. Like, it's hard to do, but in one hand, I think there's an injustice against this cop. They're trying to, again, with their perpetual race wars, they're trying to make this one cop hang. But then these other cops in West Virginia, particularly that one main thug, just completely reprehensible. It's both. And I know, one more time, all my black-pilled friends, screw you, 2A EDU. You're kind of giving that one cop the benefit of the doubt. I know. I know. But then some of my other friends with their thin blue line, they're like, 2A EDU, you just called out men's wearing badges. I know. You guys might have got mad too, but I tried to be fair about it. And look, I'm just going to always be honest with all of you. So I will go back and catch up on the chat that I did miss. I know I can't read them all while I'm live. There's a lot more of you than me. And yeah, man. 2A Warrior 92 says, I'd much rather embrace outlaw than become part of that. I would hope nobody would ever want to be part of that, like, at all. And just like I said earlier, I hope this is true, and I think it is. Just like a lot of people I know who are decent, good immigrants and live in this country. Again, some of them immigrated here not that long ago. They're more ticked off than I am about all these illegal invaders. And I would hope, because I do have a couple friends that are cops, and they're good people. And those cops that are good, I would assume, and I would surely hope, and I'm going to assume in most cases, the good cops are even more ticked off at seeing this that went on in West Virginia and many, many, many other places. You're probably just as mad, if not more mad than me, and I get it. And it's complex, and I don't know the final answer, but we do need to go back to rule of law, which is the Constitution, the founding documents, and we need to enforce our borders, because if you don't have a border, you literally do not have a country. All right? And on a little bit of a super light note, right on the way out of here, because I appreciate hanging out with you all tonight. Dude, it's like a $7 bag that's good for all kinds of stuff. Give me 5 minutes. In case you're new to the channel, welcome. Good to have you here, or you just didn't notice it. I will repost this to locals and X in just a couple minutes. I agree, Robert Chase. How can he sleep at night? I don't know. I wish him well. Good night, Richard Denny. God bless you. Good night, Pillbox. Thanks, man. Take it easy. And yeah, it's gross going both ways. Well, I'm gonna get back to this chat, like I said later, like John Q. Public says, your viewpoint. I will read that, sir. Ferocious Kitsu. BLM doesn't want cops because they want anarchy. I don't really want cops because you look after yourself, and this stuff keeps happening, dude. We can talk about it all night long, and we'll talk about this topic again. There's a lot to talk about, and that's why I'm glad that you guys are here, because I'm sure I'm going to get lots of wisdom and very good comments later on in the chat. What's happening, JJ? Man, look at you guys in here. Nice people tonight. Wow. Vince, Carbon. How you doing, Vince? You doing all right, man? Some of you guys I talk to here and there online and offline about life, and man, sometimes I feel bad because I see some of you afterwards on the replay. I'm like, I wish I could have said hi to that guy in real time. Bill Alexander, there he is. What's happening, dude? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm having a hard time saying goodbye because there's so many good people in here tonight. But I'm going to sit here and drink my coffee and maybe order some more range bags. Nutty 357. What's happening, dude? Man, this guy's been around the channel a long time. Wow. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. And have a good one. Hey, Vince, just survive, man. That's what you got to do. That's what everybody does. And then, tomorrow will be a better day. You know what I'm saying? Good night, Gort. What's happening, Gort? Oh, man.